By God, we'll have our memes again, laughing free under the sun's warm grin, helping each other, kin to kin. This is our time, and we're gonna win. Oh, rising tide lifts all ships we land, with joy in our hearts and the wind at our backs. We're building something great, no turning back. Rising tide, we're on the attack. Taking it back from the stormy sea, forward we march, wild and free. A bright future gleams for you and me. Glorious days, our victory. Oh, a rising tide lifts all ships we last, with joy in our hearts and the wind at our backs. We're building something brave, no turning back. Rising tide, we win at last. Below me, hearties, the dawn is breaking bright. From the shadows we sail through the endless night. Hand to hand we pull the line so tight. Together we rise in the morning light. Oh, a rising tide lifts all ships we last, with joy in our hearts and the wind at our backs. We're building something great, no turning back. Rising tide, we're on the attack. Dedication strong as the oceans roar. Progress calls us to the distant shore. Never surrender, we push evermore. Into the sunrise, what we're fighting for. Oh, a rising tide lifts all ships we last, with joy in our hearts and the wind at our backs. We're building something great, no turning back. Rising tide, we're on the attack. By God, we'll have our memes again, laughing free under the sun's warm grin, helping each other, kin to kin. This is our time, and we're gonna win. Oh, rising tide lifts all ships we last, with joy in our hearts and the wind at our backs. We're building something great, no turning back. Rising tide, we're on the attack. Taking it back from the stormy sea, forward we march, wild and free. A bright future gleams for you and me. Glorious days, our victory. Oh, a rising tide lifts all ships we last, with joy in our hearts and the wind at our backs. We're building something brave, no turning back. Rising tide, we win at last. Below me, hearties, the dawn is breaking bright. From the shadows we sail through the endless night. Hand to hand we pull the line so tight. Together we rise in the morning light. Oh, a rising tide lifts all ships we last, with joy in our hearts and the wind at our backs. We're building something great, no us to the distant shore. Never surrender, we push evermore into the sunrise, what we're fighting for. Oh, rising tide lifts all ships we land, with joy in our hearts and the wind at our backs. We're building something great, no turning back. Rising tide, we're on the attack. By God, we'll have our memes again, laughing free under the sun's warm grin, helping each other, kin to kin. This is our time, and we're gonna win. Oh, rising tide lifts all ships we land, with joy in our hearts and the wind at our backs. We're building something great, no turning back. Rising tide, we're on the attack. Taking it back from the stormy sea, forward we march, wild and free. A bright future gleams for you and me. Glorious days, our victory. Oh, a rising tide lifts all ships we land, with joy in our hearts and the wind at our backs. We're building something great, no turning back. Rising tide, we win at last. Below me, hearties, the dawn is breaking bright. From the shadows we sail through the endless night. Hand to hand we pull the line so tight. Together we rise in the morning light. Oh, a rising tide lifts all ships we land, with joy in our hearts and the wind at our backs. We're building something great, no turning back. Rising tide, we're on the attack. Dedication strong as the oceans roar. Progress calls us to the distant shore. Never surrender, we push evermore into the sunrise, what we're fighting for. Oh, rising tide lifts all ships we land, with joy in our hearts and the wind at our backs. We're building something great, no turning back. Rising tide, we're on the attack. By God, we'll have our memes again, laughing free under the sun's warm grin, helping each other, kin to kin.
Yo, ahoy, howdy everybody, how's it going? Hopefully everyone is doing well. Yes. Yes. Glass of mead, nice. Doing well but tired, nice. Same here basically. Not as tired as I have been though, so that is good. Let's see here. Better since you ate? Nice. Nice. Oh well. Send a bit of testing in the Discord, I am. Let's see, what do we got here? Oh. Yeah, I saw you working on that. Cool. Alrighty. Alrighty, let's jump into the fun stuff. Hey Nicola, I heard you got banned on Twitter for inauthentic content too. That sucks, or whatever the Twitter alternative is. I hope you get it back soon. Apparently they hit a bunch of people again today. Very annoying. They need to get their shit together. All right. Yeah, inauthentic activity. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. I don't get how they do that. Alrighty. Let's just get right to the tavern also. Unbelievable. You have to make a video. It likely has something to do with the Brave browser? Huh. I used to use Brave, but when I switched over for streaming, I use Firefox now. But yeah, that's weird if it's Brave. I'll see is Firefox. You don't use Brave? Regular Firefox. Interesting. Very weird. Anyway, I guess let's just jump into it. We're going to be talking the Henry Nowak thing. That should be fun, right? Right? This is interesting. Where do we want to start? I've got a few different people we could do. Let's start with the American take. Opera. All right, let's jump over here. Oh, the spicy topic. Oh yeah, you know it. And it shouldn't be spicy, but it is, unfortunately. Like it's so interesting. Too many things were broken with it. Yeah, when you get too off in the weeds there, some of the stuff just doesn't work. All right, let's go over there. Situation is fucked. Yeah. So I think we'll start on this one. Ranted seriously on it. Oh yeah, I thought we'd check out Liberty Lockdown, another one of the libertarian people on this. I heard some of it. Yeah, interesting to get the libertarian and American take too. And then we will go over to, I saw Count Dankula did something more on the riots, but we'll check out Count Dankula and maybe some podcasts of the Lotus Eaters too. Ahoy Arkham, how's it going? Alrighty, let's get started. Ahoy. Tragedy of Henry Nowak and a warning for America.
He keeps dropping side to side, so I'm just trying to keep him set up.
Alright.
He's got a mouthful of blood, I don't want him.
Has anyone been hurt other than him?
Yeah, me. He's grabbed my brother, he's took my turban off, started grabbing my head.
Are you injured?
Yeah, I've got swollen eye, little bruise.
Alright, just step back a little bit for me.
Been stabbed.
You've been stabbed? Whereabouts?
Like, we're 20 seconds in and I'm already freaking enraged. Like, if you know the context of what's going on here, starting off heavy tonight, yes, I knew we needed to talk about this, so I just let's jump right into it. But yeah, 20 seconds in and it's already absolutely atrocious. Oh man, like they're so fucking guilty. They just stabbed the dude and they're still pretending to be the victims. They'd called 911. The whole thing is absolutely insane.
I don't think you have, mate.
December 3rd, Henry Nowak was he was attacked by a Sikh man that was born in Britain in the same town as Henry. Henry is an 18-year-old from Southampton who had been out at the bars. Apparently you're able to go to the bars when you're 18, but you're not allowed to own any weapons, including knives. However, a 22-year-old approached him.
It's a combo. Suicidal empathy. It's a combo. It's so much more complicated because many of the people are way fed up with it. Like, this is, I don't know if it's one of the so-called 80-20 issues. Probably not quite. It's probably like maybe 60-40 or whatever. But like in a functional system where our leaders actually represented us, this would not be a thing. So this isn't an issue of suicidal empathy. This is a cultural attack. There's suicidal empathy in there, but no, it goes well beyond that because so many of the people are just fed up. It's suicidal empathy would be if the whole culture accepted this. And I mean, I guess to an extent, we/they do because it's still going on. But yeah, it's much more complicated than suicidal empathy.
British man. And there was a brief altercation where they exchanged words, and it seemed as if Henry was just kind of talking crap to him, but it wasn't.
We don't know that. Like I've heard like that. Anyway, we don't have to get too into it. But yeah, like it's potentially nothing was even happened there. And also they said he was at the bars. Like I've heard he was well under the legal limit. I don't know if he'd been drinking at all, but I mean, it's not like he was drunk or anything. So it's just important to keep that in mind. A non-drunk kid was walking down young man was walking down the street, and something happened, and he freaking died. And by died, I mean was freaking murdered.
Over the top. Unfortunately, the video was shut off at that point. There was a Snapchat that was being recorded by Henry. And at that moment, Vikram Digwa pulled out a ceremonial blade, which apparently Sikhs are permitted legally to possess and carry on them at all times in England, despite the fact that everybody else born in England is totally and completely disarmed, including knives. And Digwa probably would have gotten away with it if it weren't for the fact that
but for the public to believe the police justice system would do the right thing, it is still lunacy. You just will call it. The politicians want this to happen. Yes. He had 1 or 2 drinks, you believe? Yeah. Could be.
the police had allowed for him to meet with his brother in the police precinct, in which they talked in Punjabi, where his brother told him that it's very important he claims self-defense so that he doesn't get charged with murder. And Mr. Digwa responded that he would not be able to claim self-defense if there were any security cameras in the area.
At least they're retarded.
In other words, it was not self-defense, that he had aggressively assaulted and attacked an 18-year-old and taken his life with a weapon that Henry was not legally allowed to possess. But on that night, after the attack, they called the cops. The cops came, and what they told them was that this had been a racially motivated assault.
This is one of the things that it'll probably get played, but the 911 call is one of the most, obviously the murder and the cops' actions and the politicians' actions and all that are the most outrageous part. But the actually, you know what? 911 call is right fucking in there because it just shows how much they've twisted and broken the culture.
By Henry.
The 999 call made to police by the murderer's brother.
Police emergency.
Yeah, we just been attacked by someone racially. We just got attacked racially by some white person.
We just got attacked racially. We just got attacked by this beep. So...
Wait.
We just got attacked racially by some white person.
We just got attacked.
Why is he beeping? Like, that's what they played on thing. Did he... I'm confused. Why are they beeping racially, white?
We just got attacked by this beep. So... Did they call him a name there?
I'm so fucking confused. This is from the thing, right? Like, maybe he had something else in his ear or something, but like, he said white. He said white.
Person.
We just got attacked racially.
This is wild.
We just got attacked by this beep. So, did they call him a name there? Did they call Henry Novak a horrible name after...
They said white.
After the brother had stabbed him multiple times. We got attacked by this white guy.
Okay, so they do say it. So maybe they were talking about something they didn't show in the clip. Okay.
Now, the thing is, we now know none of that's true. We now know not only is none of that true, they made a call to their mother. And their mother, who was not born here, by the way, the mother arrived at the scene
Oh, I see. Some of it was blank. I see. Maybe some of it was blanked out and I didn't realize. But yeah, so something white person. Yeah, okay. So they're slurring at the white people. That might make sense.
Took the knife and left the scene with the knife and hid it. And there she is.
So these two brothers who had called 999, which is their version of 911, lied. And they said that this was a racially motivated attack by Henry upon them, and therefore this was self-defense. As we now know, none of that was true. In fact, their mother came by and took the murder weapon and hid it before the police arrived. Now, fortunately, she was charged as an accomplice, and the actual murderer was charged and convicted.
Dude, the rage is building. Holy shit.
Murder, 21 years in prison, which is apparently a life sentence.
Yeah, I've seen that too. He was sentenced to life in prison of at least 21 years. It's like, that's not life in prison. What the fuck are we doing here?
UK, which means he'll be out when he's approximately my age. And you might be thinking to yourself, Clint, why are you so concerned about a murder in the UK? Like, how is that relevant to us in America? Well, I'll tell you, it has a lot of the hallmarks of all of the madness that we're suffering. First off, when the cops arrive, they are checking on Henry, who is obviously in dire condition, and they believe that he's intoxicated, so they don't take him seriously when he says 5 times that he has been stabbed, and they go, I don't think so.
What's happened to you, all right? Been stabbed. You've been stabbed? Whereabouts? Don't think you have, mate.
So he says 5 times that
Bro,
he's been stabbed, and he says,
that's
"I don't
so
think you have."
freaking hard.
Simultaneously, he is taking essentially testimony from the
That's fucking awful, man.
murderer who is standing right there, who says that he took off my turban and he called me a name, and he's just lying through his teeth. They take all of that at face value while the actual murder victim is laying there.
A reflection of the mental infection spreading through the West? Yes. And again, it's an intentional attack. It's not just a disease, an infection that's spreading. It's something that was done to our society.
Bleeding out. So I'll ask you, how does that read to you? It reads to me like the white police officer is hearing the testimony of the minority.
They've been well
taking it at
trained.
face value, while the white victim is giving his counter testimony. Granted, he can't hardly talk because he has internal bleeding, and his life is about to be lost within minutes of that video, tragically. And he doesn't take him seriously at all.
I don't think you have, mate. Yeah. Didn't even check on him. Don't get why they didn't check for a bleeding wound when he said I've been stabbed. I know, man. Powder keg about to be lit up. We'll see. There's always the theory that nothing happens. We'll see. I mean, I know there already is stuff happening, but we'll see where it goes.
Not even for a minute does he consider that he is about to handcuff a murder victim, a man who is about to die, a man who is pleading out, saying he can't breathe, a la George Floyd, and the last words on earth are going to be him being read his rights by these cops who should be protecting him, who should be arresting the assailant.
Henry told officers that he could not breathe 9 times. He told them he had been stabbed 4 times. The response from one officer was, I don't think you have, mate. The police have said they were misled by the murderer.
Demonic Claus says it all. Yeah. Also, like, imagery aside, those fucking nails shouldn't be allowed either. Like, she's wearing freaking gloves. I forget what they're called, but those nitrile gloves or whatever. Like, those are so easy to tear. I'm sure the cop ones are probably, hopefully, slightly less easy, but still, like, those freaking claws defeat the whole purpose of the gloves.
And that the scene when they arrived was complex. Unfortunately, it seems to us the truth is much simpler. The police were told by our son himself.
Because they'll believe anybody that isn't white. They've been trained to. It's not even so much that of what if they personally believe it. It's how they are told to respond in those instances. It's easier to go along with the non-natives than to actually defend the natives. Just kind of how it works. Don't think the English really have it in them to really do anything. We'll see. I'm gonna. Yes, I'm gonna be fired. I've been punished. I don't think you have, mate. There were some really good comments on the other ones.
And by a member of the public who called 999 that they heard someone shout that they had been stabbed, but the police did not believe them.
At least the family is speaking out. Like here, we've had all these cucked family members of murder victims. The what's it? Community response team or whatever it is. The whatever that Department of Justice team is, community response something or other team, they always go around to the families and tell them what to do when their family member gets killed by a minority. And so yeah, at least these guys are speaking out, because yeah, that's always absolutely infuriating as well. Like the hey, yeah, it sucks my daughter was assaulted and murdered, but hey, at least we have food trucks. Like it brings so much vibrancy to the culture. Like, I mean, where would we be without our food trucks? That's much more important than my daughter's life and last moments. Yeah, man, dude, like the whole thing is so dark. It's yeah, it's hard to talk about.
Henry was pulled across the gravel, his hands forced behind his back, and he was placed in handcuffs. Instead of being treated as a dying victim, police formally arrested Henry for assault and read him his rights.
That's Henry's father addressing the media as to his feelings about.
That's a really good point. This is the security they gave up their guns for. Yeah, again, if you give up your freedom for security, you deserve and get neither. Yeah, they gave up power, and the authorities who are supposed to be protecting them do not, and in fact betray them every step of the way they can for the migrants that they're importing, again, as an intentional attack on society too. So yeah, don't give up your guns, people. Not that just having guns provides that much protection, because you also have to be willing to actually show that you are at least willing to threaten to use them. Because yeah, I mean, here in America we have guns, which is great. Like that's better than not having guns for sure. But we have many of the same problems, and could potentially get all the way to UK level of problems without anyone doing anything about it, even though we have guns.
What went down. And I got to say, well, I appreciate his calm, kind of forthright demeanor. I would be much, much angrier about this if this was my son. My son, who was a murder victim, who was handcuffed and read his rights as he took his final breaths, versus his assailant, his murderer.
This is worse than what people claimed happened to George Floyd. Oh, 100%. It's pre-planned decades ahead of the situation. That's why they removed the guns by law. Again, I'm not even sure how much it's all connected. The same mindset that removed the guns did this. I'm not sure one necessarily leads to the other. I mean, it does, but like I said, the exact same thing can happen here. What got filtered? Yeah, I'm surprised more stuff isn't getting filtered on this topic. Hey Cryptid, how's it going? California is getting to where you can't buy ammo unless you have registered guns, so they're working on loopholes to stop you from being able to use your guns. That's not even a fucking loophole. That's been deemed unconstitutional too. It's not a loophole. They're just fucking cheating and no one's calling them out on it. California needs to get absolutely fucked. I say this as a libertarian. California needs to get absolutely fucked by the federal government. Federal government needs to come down on California like a freaking ton of bricks, man. I'm so tired of all that bullshit. Like, just go after all those states who are doing that shit. But again, they won't press the button because they don't care about us either. They're better than California, but not by much. It was Japan was going to attack America at one point, but they looked up at the gun registry and the number of people with guns stopped the surprise attack. That's somewhat I forget the word. I wanted to say anecdotal, but not that. But it's apocryphal. Anyway, it's probably somewhat true, but also a exaggeration for the meaning of that. But yes, and the phrase was a rifle behind every blade of grass. Apocryphal. Okay, I got it. Yeah. But yeah. Yep, rifle behind every blade of grass. It works, but it was somewhat fictional, that portrayal, as I understand. They do a background check on each ammo purchase. It's insane. Hey, Penny. So many boating accidents with all guns lost. Yes. 100% of all remaining votes are for the left. Don't question it. Yep. Admiral Yamamoto said that. I think it's like we're saying. I think it's apocryphal, but I could be wrong. We all need tanks.
Who was never handcuffed, who was put in the cop car, taken to the police precinct, and offered whatever food he wanted, while never being handcuffed at all. Murder victim, handcuffed. Murderer, never handcuffed and offered whatever meal he'd like. And the inequities go far, far deeper than that. The reason...
just a quick search here. Thanks a lot. Just a quick search here is widely attributed to Admiral Yamamoto, the Imperial Japanese Navy commandee during World War II, but historians and fact checkers consider it unsubstantiated and likely bogus. So yeah, again, and historians and fact checkers are full of shit too, but point is, it seems like there's not a whole lot of evidence to point to that this was ever actually said. Like I said, the theory still holds, but the actual quote is not necessarily a fact. Yep. Police didn't exist and were never supposed to be what they are. Like, even after police exist, the point, I mean, yes, they're peacekeepers and law and order and stuff, but they weren't supposed to replace the crime stopping or whatever. Like, they're there to and they're basically there to clean up. Like, you can't say this thing is when seconds matter, the police are minutes away. They can't replace personal responsibility, and it's an absolute trap that they're trying to shove down the throat that because we have police, we don't need guns or something like that. It's bullshit, obviously.
That Henry was disarmed is because basically everyone in the UK has been disarmed. Well, that is only if you're white. If you're Sikh, you are allowed to carry a ceremonial blade. That blade can be up to 6 or 8 inches long.
Frontier justice, something like that. Yeah, we need kind of a mix. Like, order is great, law and order is great, but yes, what we currently have is not law and order anyway. It's a narco tyranny. So yeah, Old West.
And that's exactly
let's go.
The murder weapon that then took his life. I mean, really sit with that fact for a minute. Don't just glaze over on that thing. That is insanity. You have a domestic population, which used to be a la 1945 or 1940. It was 99.9% white. The Saxons, the British. That's what it was. Today,
you guys are big fans of the justice, huh? I can't say I blame you. All cops are British.
It used to be a la 1945.
That's it. No, these are crazy stats too.
Over on that thing. That is insanity. You have a domestic population, which used to be a la 1945 or 1940. It was 99.9% white. The Saxons, the British. That's what it was. Today, it hovers around 80% white. And
so yeah, it went from pretty much completely white to 80% white, which is still better than us here in America, where we dropped from like, I forget the high end, 95 or something. Like, we were never 99.9 obviously, but like 95 and definitely high 90s for a while. Like, we hovered in the high 90s. And now we're down. It's a little hard to tell because we don't even know who all is in the country, but like 60 to 70%, somewhere in there. So, I mean, yeah, no, it's an even bigger fall off here.
The minority, what it was. Today, it hovers around 80% white. And the minorities, which apparently you've been so kind to allow them to come into your country, they have additional rights that those that were born in their homeland of England are not allowed to defend themselves. They're not allowed to have any weaponry whatsoever. Whereas the invaders or the immigrants, however you want to look at it, are allowed to carry ceremonial knives, which can serve as a murder weapon if you're dealing with a sick individual. Now, I shouldn't have to make this preface, but I'll do it.
A sick individual. A Sikh individual. He's Sikh in the head.
Anyways, this is not throwing aspersion or casting anger towards every Sikh or every Muslim in the UK. That's not what I'm doing, obviously.
Of course not. And I say the same thing every time. Like, you don't judge an individual based on the entire group. But this is a problem that did not have to exist. I've said this every time, usually in the American context, but here we're talking about the UK. But like, Muslim terrorist problem in the UK, in America didn't have to happen because we didn't used to have enough Muslims for that to be a problem. And that's not hatred against Muslims. There's plenty of reasons and conflicts and stuff that has exacerbated why they want to do damage to us. So it's not, oh, I hate all Muslims, but it's like, they don't need to be here to threaten us like this. That's the part that's self-caused. That's the part that really freaking pisses me off. So yeah, it's not about hating an entire group. Stereotypes exist for a reason. They do. I'm not hand-waving that away either. I'm just saying it's not good to hate an entire group because some people do bad things. But yeah, no, this didn't need to happen to either country. You wish we could go through a conversation without having to throw caveats for everything. I agree, but I do think it's like that one I like doing just because I do think it's important and people can spiral off too far. But yeah, I totally agree that it's painful that there are plenty of times where you like just have to jump in. There will be like, oh well, no, I don't hate this or that or whatever. It's obnoxious. Well, 99% sure. If only that population was in the jury, he would have been found innocent. Yeah, I mean, again, that's part of the reason that it's annoying letting all these people in is that that's the thing. Even if you don't hate them, they have a strong in-group preference. Like, you are creating multiculturalism. Multiculturalism doesn't work. You can talk about melting pot or whatever, all the other stuff you want, but multiculturalism as a term does not work because it's implying multiple different cultures, and they're going to have different interests. They're not all on the same page. Not that a single culture is always going to be on the same page, but you're much more likely to get that. Hitting the filters tonight. I don't mean all of them. Yes. Yep. Hey, Runya. Congratulations. I think you got your Twitter account back, right? Remember when Muslim refugees actually fled to the UK and US to escape brutal dictatorships? A bunch of the flood was actually from wars there too, which is really obnoxious because again, it goes back to self-caused problems. Like, meddling in the Middle East is what caused some of the biggest floods into Europe and America. So it's a you got us coming and going, man. Hate no, but be weary. I think you mean, if you mean wary, yes. I mean, again, pattern recognition is a superpower. Stereotypes exist for a reason. Yep. Yes, sell your cloak and buy a sword. Right? Can we just make a someone start a new religion and say it's part of our religion to carry frickin' Glocks, man. The more you open about what you think, the more you get banned. Yeah, understandable. Hey, Juju. Runya lives.
I'm doing is highlighting the
identify as sick,
Sikh that has
yep.
taken over most Western white nations. Literally opening your border up, letting the entire world flood your country, and then offering them to carry with them weapons while actively disarming the domestic population.
And so many other privileges too.
The people born there, your countrymen. In what fucking world does any of that make sense? And the only world in which that makes sense is the liberal woke world order. And to be clear, I don't like GADSAD at all. But if this isn't suicidal empathy, I don't know what is.
Funny, we were just talking about the suicidal empathy, and again, I disagree. I disagree because I think it's a malicious attack, and I think enough people are already fed up with it that it's, again, there's a aspect of suicidal empathy for sure, but it's not the full story. Glocks are ugly guns. 1911s, got to carry the 1911s. They are in God's caliber after all. But yeah, no, Glock was just an example. It's a stand-in for guns in general. But no, I agree. Glocks are ugly, and you need a good-looking gun. Down with the sickness.
He's right about this one aspect of his analysis. There is absolutely a wave of suicidal empathy that has taken over Western nations. By Western nations, no one ever says it, but what they really mean is white nations, Western white nations. And in my opinion, the primary
True and
reason
real.
they're not allowed to call them white nations is because they don't want them to be white any longer. That they
Correct, 100%. And I've been saying that. Like, you'll notice they say white majority nations, not white nations. This actually happened past weekend, but thing is, we were just hearing about it. UK cops suck. This actually happened. The murder itself actually happened back in December. The body cam footage just released recently, but yeah, this is actually old news. Well, again, the body cam footage is not. But yeah, no, they didn't. I don't know why it came out. Maybe some freedom of information stuff. I don't know, but maybe they want the rage. I don't know, but it seems like they didn't want to address this, and it was kind of hidden, and then somehow they got a hold of it, and it's out there now, and everyone's fucking pissed, rightfully so. But yeah, it's white majority nations because that implies the potential for change. Like, and they don't even like that. But yeah, if you call it white majority, then at some point it can be a white minority nation.
want them to not be that. From Australia to England to France to Ireland, which is having massive immigration issues itself, to Canada, to America. Basically, every white nation, in scare quotes, is no longer that, or at least aggressively changing. Now, it's much harder to make this defense of America.
And again, like, if you look, this is nothing like this is happening elsewhere in the world. Most other nations are maintaining their demographics, and like the ones that aren't, that are also being targeted, are viewed as like white adjacent. Like they freaking hate Japan because Japan is a Western nation. Like they view it as again, Japanese are like the honorary whites. They're on the target too. And if they could do away with the whites, like they'll just find someone else. Because again, it's the insane sort of communist. Kitty, you gotta stop. Communist nonsense, and communist is a stand-in. It's not that simple, but Kitty, shut the fuck up. But yeah, it's that same sort of equality overall. Like they want to level out humanity. It's crazy. I truly believe they want us to have a civil war so they can unleash their wrath upon everyone. Potentially, yes. I mean, they're getting into position with all their drones and shit like that where it does become more feasible. So it is, and again, they seem to want less humans anyway, which is wild. But yeah, like if they can start a civil war, or, you know, have us start a civil war and kill a bunch of us and put their, I don't know though. Cause on the flip side, what they're doing seems to be working I mean, it's starting to fall apart, but they'd rather keep things on the slow boil because it lets it gives people the illusion that they have a choice. I've talked about that a lot, like that democracy is kind of a trap where people feel like they're represented when they're really not. So a civil war kind of ruins that. But if they think they can pick up the pieces afterwards, maybe they got something like that planned. But otherwise, they're probably better off not doing that. But also they're retarded, so who the fuck knows? White people aren't indigenous to anyway. Yes, we just kind of... Yakub made us in a lab somewhere. Hey, Smash Elite, how's it going? Whoa. Civil unrest. Only religion the Quangos hate the most is Christianity. Yep. Again, if just like with white people, I think if they could do away with Christianity, they'd come after someone else too. But until then, they've locked onto Christianity. So any other religion is a useful tool to counteract Christianity. But I think they do hate all religions. I think they want to get rid of higher IQ societies because lower IQ populations are easier to control and exploit. 100%. Keep the high IQ for the wealthy elite and make everyone else fucking dumb. I mean, they've pretty much said they want to do that too. We need our own drones and AI with a spite program if they do succeed. I was just thinking about that today. Like if we are, this sounds so fucking glowy, but it's like, it's just basic power dynamics. It's if we're going to really do our own thing, if we're ever not going to be beholden to them, we either need to completely retake society, culture peacefully, or we do need to. This is all theoretical. But like weaponized. Like we need access to the same tech, just like with the Second Amendment. We do need access to the same tech. So you're actually 100% correct there that we need drones and AI and combat ready shit. As a counterculture in Minecraft. Yes, in Minecraft. Dramatic artist troll. I didn't know he was doing videos too. That's kind of retarded. Oh, he's just. Oh man. You think there are a bunch of morons in leadership and a few smart people who are unwilling to let a disaster go to waste? Kind of, yeah. Don't do a Fetty post, yeah. This is his place. He's in Florida somewhere. I wouldn't use this as a background because I mean technically you could probably do some fancy doxing or whatever, but hey, whatever, he can do him. Oh hey Smashly, yeah. They're not super similar. Gravy is super cool too. In TF2. Oh man, Trump's ballroom is interesting. Like I hadn't looked into that conspiracy too much, but it's actually pretty interesting, and there might actually be meat there. I thought it was just people freaking spinning out, but yeah, there's some interesting stuff on the ballroom thing.
Because America truly,
yeah, Gravy's great,
is a land of immigrants. Almost everybody here comes from elsewhere. Now, granted, most of our families came here.
Okay, rewind
to Canada, to America. Basically, every white nation, in scare quotes, is no longer that, or at least aggressively changing. Now, it's much harder to make this defense of America because America truly is a land of immigrants.
What kind of immigrants? Because, spoiler alert, up until like, 67, pretty much all white. Like I was saying earlier, America was 95-ish% white. So yeah, no, the exact same argument can hold. Like we've had the exact same demographic change here. So you can't, no, don't, come on. You're better than that, Clint. You're better than that. Don't fall for the land of immigrants fucking psyop. That's Yeah, that's a rationale after the fact. Like, again, yes, it's true. Yes, it's true that it's a land of immigrants, but that doesn't mean multiculturalism. That's totally different things. Land of colonists, not immigrants. Well, both. We did do immigration as well, but yes.
Almost everybody
Most schizophrenic stream you've ever seen? Oh, I guess you haven't caught many of my streams, huh? Howdy, welcome.
here comes from elsewhere. Now, granted, most of our families came here hundreds or 100 or even hundreds of years ago. What makes England different is that the Saxons conquered it over 1,500 years ago. And up until the 1940s, it was 99.9% that population. That's who they were. So you can't make all the same arguments that you make about America. It's not a melting pot. It is a land. It is a people. But over the past 25 years...
Again, so are we.
Similar demographic shift ever since the war on terror began. All of our borders...
Yeah, this whole stream's a fucking trap for chat. I feel for you guys. No free speech for you.
Have been opened.
Not my fault.
World, and many of the nations that we destroyed during these misguided, oftentimes illegal wars brought with them, as a consequence of those wars, which we should have never been involved in, many of the refugees of the victims of those wars. So to be clear, I'm not putting all of the blame on the migrants themselves. The immigrants are oftentimes good people looking for a better future for themselves and their families.
Sure, but they shouldn't be here, and oftentimes not too, especially if we're talking like illegal immigrants or whatever. Like there's no excuse for them being here, and they did it the wrong way, and they can fuck off.
For themselves and their family. I'd say the vast majority of the time that's the case.
Killdozer.
It doesn't change the fact that what is happening to the people of Britain, to the people of America, is wrong. For one thing, many of us didn't support those wars. We didn't support the war on terror. And for those that did, they were...
Exactly. You immigrate and then you assimilate. You don't import infinite people to overtake and form their own mini nations in your borders. Yes, exactly. That's what I was talking about, multiculturalism not working. Yeah. Oh, you still don't understand how we bring the refugees from countries we attacked? Yeah. I mean... Of course, some in that population is going to be bitter and want to do shit to us. It's like, A, we shouldn't be involved there in the first place, and B, we shouldn't be fucking up our own countries and demographics, taking in a bunch of people who are fleeing their country. It's insane.
Heavily
came from PR when they drafted your dad many years ago.
And indoctrinated into getting behind those things. So should they be conquered now as a consequence, as paying a penance for that indiscretion? I would argue no, they should not be.
We need a change in culture. Enough of anti-white prejudice. A promotion of the idea that white lives matter just as much as black lives. An end to DEI and positive discrimination, but a country that treats everybody equally and fairly before the law.
Nigel Farage is talking again. Surely things will get better.
This is serious. This is urgent. I fear for where our society will be in a few short years if we don't grip this and do it very, very quickly.
That's Nigel Farage.
Nigel Farage says good stuff. I used to like him. He's done nothing, and he's done some really dirty politics too. So yeah, I get liking Nigel. I used to like Nigel, but if you actually look into like what he's accomplishing and what he's doing, I don't think he's the way to go. But that was a good speech. I like the speech, but again, it's just a speech. He won't actually do anything. Sino.
And he's the leader of the reform movement, which I think has failed miserably in actually doing anything about these issues, and is not interested in remigration, reversing the process that has essentially destroyed their country. Whereas Rupert Lowe, the leader of the Restore movement, or Restore Britain, says, for those mainly Pakistani men who have inflicted the very worst pain imaginable on innocent British children, please know this. There will come a day when the power of the British state that concealed your atrocious crimes for so very long is turned against you. It will be swift, it will be brutal, it will be severe. Because if Restore Britain gets a sniff of power, there will be a reckoning. I promise you that. We will show you the same mercy you showed our girls. Your race or religion will not protect you any longer. A message will be sent that is heard right across the world. If you rape our children, you will pay for it, and you will pay for it with everything. That is what Restore Britain will do. And as I explained in my episode,
Also a politician speaking, we have to keep that in mind, but damn.
last week, there is a divide that's happening very similar to the MAGA versus America First movements in this country, almost identical, honestly. And in my opinion, MAGA is reform and America First is restore. So needless to say, I align much more readily with the restore movement, one that wants to completely throw off the mental shackles of wokeness that has absolutely pillaged our nation and theirs. And I'm not the only one that feels that way. Here's Southampton today.
They're throwing bins!
Wait, what? Oh.
Me and young Bob are here. How you doing? Mental? Yeah, I don't
Oh.
endorse violence.
Jeez.
You may not have caught it, but there was actually
Damn.
chants of I Can't Breathe, which is a chant that happened with another very famous police brutality case that happened in America. In this case, it's actually true and real and justifiable righteous anger that's rippling across their country. But the similarities to our own Black Lives Matter movement don't end there. They have this happening today as well.
On your knees! On your knees!
I also like all the memes about like, oh, they're throwing bins. I don't think we are, mate. I don't think we are. Brick by brick, hell yeah.
On your knees! On your knees! On your fucking knees! On your 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 knees!
So you have British protesters screaming at the cops today, saying on your knees. And why are they saying that? Very specific reason. Because in 2020, some of those same cops knelt. They knelt for an alleged victim of police brutality that didn't even happen in their own country, but they are unwilling to kneel for a victim of police, I don't know, ineptitude, to put it mildly, that caused the death of one of their own citizens, and they don't see it fit to kneel on behalf of his lost life. And there's a very good reason for that. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary Race Action Plan from 24 through 2026 has this to say. This is their commitments. This is what they drafted after the George Floyd case. They said, we have zero tolerance of racism and ensuring Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary is anti-racist in all it does. Understanding and reducing our disproportionality using reform or explain approach. Understanding the impact, trauma, and history of policing ethnic minority communities.
Oh my God.
Comes in support for ethnic minority victims of crime. Increasing our contact with and involving ethnic minority communities in our policing and decisions that concern them. Recruiting, retaining, and progressing a representative.
To reform things in the U.S., we need to get rid of both the Republican and Democratic parties. Correct. Or at least do so much damage to one that we can rebuild it better.
Workforce, DEI, mandating and developing a culture that supports and values all of its workforce. So while there are many dissimilarities in that we are actually a very well-armed country and they are totally disarmed, there is a...
Anti-racist equals anti-white. Yes, it's used that way very much.
Very stark and concerning similarity in that the same wokeness that ripped across our nation in the aftermath of George Floyd's tragic death, and I will still say it's tragic despite the fact that I don't believe he was murdered by police. I believe that he died of a fentanyl overdose. But regardless of how you feel about the George Floyd case, what makes this interesting is that there's really no argument
Also true
that Henry Nowak deserved to lose his life. It's pretty crystal clear that he absolutely did not deserve that. Whereas George Floyd may have died from his drug overdose regardless. We don't know. So you have one case that's crystal clear. You have one case that's hazy. At minimum, it's hazy. But you have cops 6,000 miles away in the UK. Apologies for the lightning behind me. But you have cops 6,000 miles away which are willing to kneel for an alleged victim of police brutality, not in their country, whereas they stand tall and firm when it comes to the tragic loss of one of their own.
Dude, the whole thing is so obnoxious. Like I was saying, anarcho-tyranny, like it is insane that our own cops here in America were like standing down and letting them actually burn police stations and everything. Like they they don't actually care about law and order. They don't actually care about protecting us. I read some of it. Yeah, he's got a pool out there. It does look like a keyboard. I don't know, Arkham. I don't know.
A guy who they're supposed to represent, protect, look after. And this is how the UK media covers it.
Another thing that I'd like to just address, the lady on your panel mentioned George Floyd. It's nothing like that because Floyd overdosed on drugs. He was
mostly
not
peaceful
murdered.
protests.
That is a miscarriage of justice.
Charlotte, don't.
Sorry, Charlotte, you've lost the room at this point. I'm sorry. This is like there was an entire trial.
You've lost the room? Okay, this is a yeah and moment. You've lost the room? Yeah and.
On drugs. He was not murdered.
Charlotte,
that is a miscarriage of justice.
Charlotte, don't.
Sorry, Charlotte, you've lost the room at this point. I'm sorry. This is like there was an entire trial in
He was
America.
murdered by a police officer,
Yeah,
Charlotte.
exactly.
That's the key thing.
I mean, it's basically people putting their fingers in their ears and go la 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 as they have a call in to their news program. It's really unbelievable what the blue pilling of the Western world has done. It has just made it so that people give up on all critical thought.
Hey Yazzie, how's it going? Immigrants have been building this country for a long time. The economy, their business owners, the jobs that are critical, but most citizens don't want to do. We just need more control over what people, I'm guessing you're saying come in or whatever. Like I said, I'm not hating on any particular people, but to talking about controlling what people come in, because we were talking about demographics here, like we were saying, back before 67, and I mean it had already started to shift a little bit, but that's where it really shifted. But before that, we were at like 95% white people. Yes, they were diverse white people from various different backgrounds, and many of them were immigrants. That's all true, but the current situation we're under is a intentional attack. That's not hatred on any specific people, as I said, but the current immigration system is being used to punish the native people here and the pre-existing people here. The U.S. already has enough terrible human beings. We don't need more. Yes, and that's the other thing. As to whether or not people here will do the jobs, part of the reason, like, that's a psyop too, because when you bring in a bunch more immigrants. And the immigration rate has also gone massively up. When you bring in a bunch of immigrants, the wages are naturally going to go down. So you can shift especially if you've got like illegal immigrants who can't work in certain jobs, it's going to push a bunch of the jobs to them. So it's not just a matter of that Americans don't want to do it. It's that they won't do it at the rates that are now being forced on them. It's a artificial constraint on the economy. It's essentially price control, and then so yeah, you can say the immigrants are doing jobs Americans won't, but it's because you've shifted the entire economy to make it so that it's not something Americans can feasibly do at those prices, and then you're propping up with tax dollars often the subsidies that let others do that. It's an insane system. Immigrants, yeah. Jobs that people don't want to do. Yeah. Immigrants and their children want to move up from those jobs too. Americans who can't afford food and houses will want jobs. Yeah. Want my stolen land back? Give me all the stuff we built. Yeah. Even if they want to do the jobs for those wages, they They can't because of all the other things businesses have to pay to employ an American. Yeah, that's another good point. And if we're talking like H-1Bs and stuff as well, like there are jobs literally Americans aren't allowed to even apply for, or if they are, they're going to be given bad treatment, and other people would be advantaged over them. Foreigners will be advantaged over them, again, at taxpayer expense.
Don't actually analyze any of these cases. They don't actually think for themselves. They don't actually dig in. I did do that on the Henry Nowak case because I wanted to make sure before I covered it that I was confident that the story that I was conveying to you guys was accurate. I did the same thing with the George Floyd case, and I came to a different conclusion. When credible doctors start paying attention to repurposed medications, it's time to start paying attention. And it's worth
an
asking
ad.
why. Dr. Harvey Risch, former professor of epidemiology at Yale, and now serving on the president's cancer panel, is helping to lead that conversation. A new groundbreaking...
Yeah. If you keep increasing the population, that you can't, then the wages need to go up continually, or things go crazy. And yeah, it's all freaking fake.
Breaking observational study from the Wellness Company analyzed the off-label use of ivermectin and
say those people did leave. Well, employers would then raise the wages to attract Americans to do those jobs. Yeah, and you'd have less workers in the economy, so that you'd naturally have to pay more as well.
Bendazole in nearly 200 cancer patients treated by licensed doctors across cancers like breast, prostate, lung, and colon, and the results are very hard to ignore. After 6 months, 84% of patients experience clinical benefit, including stable disease, tumor regression, or no evidence of disease. This is not lab data. This is real-world patient experience. Dr. Risch happens to be the chief epidemiologist.
I don't know too much about that, Juju. It is interesting, though, that sort of thing.
At the Wellness Company, and he called it an exciting signal deserving serious scientific investigation and more accessible, lower cost cancer care options. That is why the Wellness Company makes it easy to access an ivermectin and mebendazole formula using medications that are FDA approved for other indications and are being studied for additional use. It is doctor prescribed and USA compounded, designed to support patients exploring these emerging purposes.
Yep, you're both correct. Money system highly manipulated, and in many, many ways.
Under medical guidance. Ordering is simple and fully digital. Just fill out a quick intake form, a licensed doctor reviews it, and your prescription ships directly to your door. Head to twc.health/lockdown.
Horse medicine.
Use code LOCKDOWN to save up to $60 and free shipping. Again, that's twc.health/lockdown. This is for U.S. residents only.
Joe Rogan Jr.
That's not to say that I believe that the cops involved in the George Floyd case did nothing wrong. I think they absolutely did behave in a improper fashion. I don't think that they should have knelt on him for as long as they did. That being said, the story is much more complicated than that he asked to be removed from the police car, that they laid him down, that he continued to fight.
It is wild it's so wild how manipulated that story was. Just making a joke. But yeah, it's wild how manipulated that story was. Like, that they did not want people to see that shot so many holes in the story right there. Like, even if like he's saying you think the cops behaved improperly, the fact that they didn't let us see that he was asking to be put on the ground before that, and saying he couldn't breathe before the knee was on his neck. Like, again, should they have maybe... Again, it's a little different because in the it's much different, but in the Nowak case, he wasn't resisting. I mean, he was freaking dying. He couldn't resist. George Floyd was highly resistant and refused to get in the car, and they put him down. And again, he'd been saying he couldn't breathe while he was fighting with police. Like, that's gonna damage your credibility right there. If you're saying I can't breathe while you're upright and resisting and fighting police, it's like, okay, good, shut the fuck up, buddy. Like, that's a much more understandable reaction. Look at the money supply. Oh yeah, it's heavily freaking inflated. Bloody nose with the mustache.
I don't even know how long it was. It's been a long time since I covered it, but it was like 20, 30 minutes. He's he was truly uncontrollable, and that's ultimately what led to his demise. So while I think the cops in the case of George Floyd probably shouldn't have been convicted of murder, I do think that they probably should have lost their jobs for what they did. I think that that's a fair middle ground. And I would say the same thing about the cops in the Henry Nowak case. I don't think that they were intending to kill him. I think they
I don't know. I can see your avatar over on Rumble, but on the combined chat it's not showing up for whatever reason.
probably thought that he was drunk and laying on the ground and was essentially incapacitated from being beat up and being inebriated, but they were wrong. They got it wrong, just as the cops in the George Floyd case got it wrong. They should have never pulled him from the back of that cop car. They should have left him in there and taken him to the police precinct. They should have got him care for the drugs that were in his system. And with all that being said, I'm also not downplaying.
You think 95% of homeless are citizens, yet there's still so many jobs being done by immigrants. I just think there's a lot of entitled people out there who don't work for this country. Yeah, I mean, that's true too. But again, many of those jobs, they don't want Americans. And many of those homeless people are. So yeah, it's not about entitlement exactly. Many of those homeless people are so like damaged and drug addled and everything that they're not going to be suitable for those jobs too. But there are non-homeless Americans that would do those jobs if the situation was different. Hey, Taro, how's it going?
In police brutality in America. There are many instances of cops behaving in a truly egregious fashion towards Americans, and I don't accept it. And I think that they ought to be charged when they truly cross the line. But instead of getting caught up in all that, I just wanted to talk more about the macro analysis of all this, that you have, as Gad Saad describes it, a suicidal empathy that has basically taken hold of almost everyone's mindset in this country and theirs. And moreover, I think what it, at its core, it's indicative of is a self-loathing, a taught self-loathing. That people who are white in the West have been taught that they are the perpetrators of historical injustices.
Yep.
And therefore, they are perennially that they can never change that they can never be the victims, that despite the fact that Henry had been stabbed, he was still in some way the aggressor, just by nature of his skin tone. And the white cops arriving on scene, they have that embedded in their computing system as well, that they see this white kid who is about to lose his life, and they immediately perceive him as the aggressor, as the perpetrator, as opposed to the victim. I mean, they literally handcuffed a dying man who had done nothing illegal.
At the moment, you are under arrest.
Oh my God.
So you do not have to say anything, may harm in defence. If you do not mention when questioned, so to you later line of court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence, all right?
We've got this male, he's just been beat up. Are we able to get an ambulance, please? His pupils aren't even reacting.
And I think the interesting kind of thought experiment to go through is, why is it that despite the fact that the white population in the UK is still 80%, the dominant ethnicity.
Yeah.
And yet they are structurally changing their system to be prejudicial against themselves. I mean, it's eerily reminiscent to what we've done in America. We have structurally changed our systems from lawmaking to the judiciary to employment practices with DEI, that we are constantly evolving our system to try and disadvantage the dominant or predominant ethnicity in our own country.
Yeah, I don't know. The whole situation is monumentally fucked.
And really the only reason you would ever do that is because you are just overflowing with guilt. You have to genuinely hate yourself and people that look like you if you would ever intentionally structure your civilization in a way that ultimately is to your own detriment. And
Nope, because it's not to the politicians' detriment. It's not to the police's detriment. And not that the police get a say in policy like that. But yeah, it's not detrimental to the people doing the thing. They don't care. They don't care. It doesn't affect them. And it actually is beneficial to them. Like, they can stay in power longer the more conflict there is.
Apologies for the brief tangent, but I need to also explain. This is what put me at odds with so many in my camp. And by my camp, I mean the libertarians. That they were always pushing, or not all, but most of them were oftentimes pushing for open borders. That they were saying, we are free people, whoever you are, wherever you are.
Yeah, it's funny. and I know he's a libertarian, so it's not like this is out of left field or whatever, but it's funny, like last few times we have been talking about the different camps of libertarianism. So this is the, he's talking about the retarded open border leftist libertarians.
Have a right to travel wherever you want to go. And while that's a nice sentiment and broadly something I could agree with in principle, it doesn't take into account the fact that everywhere you might go has a governing body enforced via a monopoly on force that dictates how people are permitted to behave and who's allowed to be there wherever you may go. You also have vast welfare networks that exist, particularly in countries like white Western nations, that enable the migrants or the invaders, however you want to perceive it, to take advantage of that very system. And to ignore either of those variables.
It's good for the politicians until the people they are letting in turn on them. They don't let the people they're letting in around them. Like they're in the sequestered areas. And so, yeah, it doesn't matter how much the country goes to shit if people are paying their taxes and keeping the economy going and shit like that. Like those people will not turn on the politicians. The natives are actually more likely to turn on the politicians than the newcomers. The newcomers are beholden to these people for letting them in, for handouts, for all that. So yeah, it's kind of the opposite, which is probably part of the reason they want these people here. So yeah, it's more chaos for society, but it's safer for the elites.
Is ultimately, it just nullifies your entire worldview. It just makes your entire perspective or your principle kind of muted in my
yeah, close up. This is why people call libertarians retarded. And again, there are different brands of libertarianism. We've talked about it before, but yes, many of the people calling themselves libertarians are retarded.
My opinion. And the conclusion I came to, and this is not a conclusion that they'll like, but this is my honest opinion, is that many of them carry this same woke mind virus, this same worldview of eternal guilt based off of their own skin color, being that most libertarians are, in fact, white. Almost all of them are white
and
men.
super autistic.
Convention, and you can see for yourself, it's 80 to 90% white dudes. Most of them look like they're suffering from autism, but I love them.
I actually got it.
Is that many of them carry this same woke mind virus, this same worldview of eternal guilt based off of their own skin color, being that most libertarians are, in fact, white. Almost all of them are white men. You go to a convention and you can see for yourself, it's 80 to 90% white dudes. Most of them look like they're suffering from autism, but I love them nonetheless. And when you look at the statistics,
authoritarian libertarianism, state enforced liberty, yes.
Of the tens and tens and tens of millions of migrants that have been literally invading this country for decades now, very starkly.
Elites are already outnumbered big time.
So over the past 5 to 10 years, and many of them laugh it off and they just dismiss it out of hand, or they say, well,
live free or else.
America's not going to be a majority white country and it doesn't matter. But then you look at countries where there have been kind of policies like that, South Africa, for instance, or much further back, there are other examples of nations where the predominant ethnicity is essentially nullified or becomes subservient to some other majority ethnicity. And the outcome is almost universally vicious, that those that were previously the minority, once they get into the majority, they don't go, hey, we're just happy to be the majority now. They go, hey, we're the majority now. We're going to destroy you. And you've already seen the hallmarks of that in America, despite the fact that it is.
You keep saying you come to my house, aka country, you do as we do, or you leave, and that's the generous way. It's the generous way. If we do that in other countries, we get the book thrown at us. We just go to jail till they squeeze our money. Yeah, it's definitely unequal treatment. And thank you, Yazzie.
Still a 60 to 70% white or European population. There are already all of the hallmarks of that same kind of vindictive viciousness that you would expect in a country that shifts its ethnicity majorities. And I
will say, just like with some of the other stuff, that was a planned attack. There didn't have to be this level of conflict. There's always going to be some, because again, in-group, out-group preference, all that, but it was intentionally ramped up. Like you can see the racial tension absolutely skyrocketed when was that? Like 2012-ish. I mean, you can map it out. And it was a bunch of it is people blame it on Occupy Wall Street, because that was kind of a populist uprising like we were talking about. And they decided that what they needed to inject there to kind of shut it down and cause more division instead of unity was the identity politics. So you turn the people at each other's throats there and go to town, and it wrecks the momentum there and causes people to fight each other instead of the people causing the problems. And unfortunately, once that has started, it's really hard to dial back, because again, it was done to us, but the hatred is very real. Like, we now do have those different groups going at each other's throats, and you do have to be aware of that. So it causes a place where, unfortunately, one side is definitely engaging in tribalism, and the other side might have to, if they're gonna combat that. So it's a very ugly situation. Unironically, you do think the purpose of government should be to protect liberty from other powerful entities that would infringe on it? 100%. Government's job is to protect the people and their freedoms. Occupy was subverted. Hi, Iraqi. How's it going? You're Jennings stuff? Heck yeah.
The awakening that I went through.
I need to do more of that.
Period when I recognized that anybody who was like upset about what happened to George Floyd, but ultimately didn't feel as if it was a open and shut case of police brutality, but also didn't feel as if they carried a massive amount of the blame just by Dane of being born white. You quickly recognized that there was a tremendous amount of anger that was truly racist nature, that it was being based strictly off of the way that I look. And it wasn't enough to just call for police reform or to want to make sure that police brutality was ultimately prosecuted very aggressively. It was, you have to actually feel bad.
Yep. And a bunch of that police brutality stuff is completely made up too. And even, like, of course there is police brutality and it's terrible, and I'm no big fan of the police as a libertarian. I think they often overstep. I like law and order, but I think our current system is a little skewed. But I've had nothing but positive interactions with police, because you just have to be a little respectful, generally. But anyway, we're off topic. My point was, even if there was a fair amount of police brutality, the people protesting the police brutality have no freaking idea. Like, you ask them how many unarmed black people are killed by police a year, they think it's like in the thousands. Some will say like tens of thousands. They think tens of thousands of, let's just go with thousands, because tens of thousands is the absurd level, but I think some people do believe that. But yeah, some people will think that thousands of unarmed black people are killed by police a year. And it's just insane. It's like 9, it's like 5. It varies year to year, of course. And the other thing you have to take into account is the definition of unarmed is very, very nebulous. Like, there have been unarmed people killed by police that were driving cars at police. Like, that's a weapon. Like, you're engaged in an attack there with a deadly weapon, and that's still like unarmed. So yeah, there was one breakdown that was like there were 13 unarmed black people killed in America in a year or something like that. But when you actually go through it, it drops to like 3 or something. Like, they all had some sort of weapon or were fighting over a cop's gun or something like that. So yeah, I mean, it can sometimes be like 0.
You have to actually share in the blame. You have to feel this guilt internally. Because
no, knives would be a weapon, but like I said, it's sometimes cars, it's sometimes I forget all the specifics, but like it's interesting when you look into it. Just look at the stupidity you see with body cams now. Yeah,
what your ancestors had done. My ancestors came over to America in the late 1800s. Why should I feel any blame for?
They refuse to understand what per capita means. They're not refusing to understand. I think a bunch of them just don't actually understand. I've argued with some of them before. Some of the race hustlers at the top are absolutely pretending they don't know what it means, but even some of them are not. I've heard, I forget, there have been some prominent people who just say completely stupid things and obviously actually don't understand what per capita means. It's pretty funny.
What happened with slavery. And by the way, had my great-great-great-great-grandfather been a slaveholder in America, I still didn't have anything to fucking do with it. So why should I hold any blame for that either? So I came to the conclusion that I should not, and I do not actually have any of that guilt in me. And then I started to analyze, why is it that they would want me to feel that way? And certainly from the lower levels, it's just people who are trying to accumulate power for themselves that are just saying, well, I'm a minority and I don't like the fact that I'm the minority in this country and I want to be the majority, or I want to have the power, the perceived power of being in the majority. So I'm just going to beat down and forcibly subdue the majority in this country until I'm the majority, which is a fairly rational and understandable human outlook on life. That wouldn't you?
No, they're denying per capita in bad faith. They understand it, but they know it destroys their argument, so they pretend it's not real. No, again, some of them honestly do not understand it. It's a real thing. But yeah, I'm sure some are lying, but some actually don't understand it.
Prefer to be in the upper strata? Certainly. But then I started to think on the inverse of that. Why is it that the upper strata, if you will, why would it be that the majority of this country, being white, would be so interested in not being the majority in this country and giving away as much power as possible?
Again, they're not.
It's not. On the inverse of that,
it's not the masses.
The upper strata, if you will, why would it be that the majority of this country, being white, would be so interested in not being the majority in this country and giving away as much power as possible, in subduing their own side? Why would they approach anything in life like that? Do they have some sort of ulterior motive? And I quickly came to the conclusion that, yeah, there was an ulterior motive. And unfortunately, this gets into a territory that kind of touches the third rail of politics that you're not.
Oh, this already didn't?
Now, if you're a Democrat, you're able to openly talk about it and even brag about it. You can talk about how the browning of America is a good thing. And the reason it's a good thing is because those people reliably vote Democrat, that they like bigger governments, they like bigger social safety nets, that they don't care so much about free speech and gun rights and limited taxes and limited government. Like, they don't care about any of those things. And then you recognize, oh, there's absolutely a motivation that the state has, that regardless of how it makes you feel, that these are facts, that the people that look like me oftentimes don't want the state to be all powerful, that we want to be sovereign, that we want to be autonomous, that we want to keep the fruits of our labor, that we want to be able to speak freely.
He's talking crazy talk.
And think freely and maintain most of the possessions that we work hard for and earn, that we don't want to pay infinity taxes, and that we don't want to be
shape-shifting whites,
a slave to the state. And while obviously these are not strictly white characteristics, that's obviously nonsense.
Hey, Jar.
It is predominantly held by white Americans. And if you look at the immigration favorability from people on the Democratic side of the aisle, they like it coming from countries that want to increase the size of the state. Shocking, I know. And I think the biggest question that we all have to ask ourselves at the end of the day is the multicultural melting pot ideology sustainable ultimately? Or better put, can it be maintained if the majority of...
Again, difference between melting pot and multiculturalism, no matter how you feel about the melting pot theory, we don't currently have it, because melting pot implies like becoming one. We are not having the assimilation.
Of that melting pot isn't kind of white liberal ideology. And the best way to answer that is to just look at kind of migrant enclave.
You're the troll from Twitter. Do you know how little that narrows it down, man?
Throughout American history. The truth is that migrants from basically anywhere, wherever they come from, they come over and they group up again. That people like to be around people that sound like them or think like them or have a cultural outlook like them. From Little Italy to Chinatown to all sorts of other ethnic enclaves that have existed throughout American history and the history of any other country that has had significant immigration. And what you realize after that analysis is that while white people in America have been expected to have this kind of colorblind...
The hours of video one, making the videos on your little Sky Bros. I don't know what you mean, but cool. Howdy. Hours of video one. This is yeah, we're like at an hour and a half, but it took us a little while. We were just yapping before then. Will you play a YouTube short of Leaflet if you send it? Yeah, sure.
And worldview, almost everybody that they are welcoming into their country do not have that worldview, that they will not carry that forward, that once they are the majority, they are going to have no qualms about crushing you because they don't have that perspective. They are interested in looking after the people that look like them, kind of identitarianism 101. And I think a lot of people, once they realize that, they get angry about it.
A troll did videos earlier. I don't know. Sounds irrelevant and probably a little schizo.
I've gone the opposite direction. I'm not angry about it. I just recognize it for what it is, and I kind of accept it, that I see in it human nature, that I understand why they would have that mentality, that this is a deeply ingrained way of evolving, that this is how we evolved and survived and procreated.
He's talking about the in-group, out-group preference we were talking about, and that's exactly my point. It's like, it's natural. I don't blame or hate them, but maybe we shouldn't have let all these people with different groups and different goals into a country that didn't used to have them.
And created safe civilizations by which our progeny could grow and prosper themselves, that this was an important factor. It doesn't mean that it's mandatory, but
I love them over there.
That maintaining some sort of ethnic or cultural, at minimum, homogeneity was vital if you wanted to have a civilization that survived and thrived.
I listened to his father, and it was absolutely heartbreaking. And this morning I watched that body cam footage, and I just kept thinking, what if that was my boy? There was a response to the George Floyd murders that is overcorrected and caused a lot of problems. We all need to take a good, long, hard look at ourselves. It is not just the police. I remember when this movement was happening and I was saying we are creating different rules for different people. I don't want to hear about white lives matter. We all matter. Enough of this nonsense where we keep separating everybody and splitting people into different groups. We are descending into tribalism. I do not want that. It is why...
Like I said, at some point it becomes necessary, though, if everyone else is engaging in tribalism. And you'll note that it's like no one super prominent was like, it was much less popular. Like some said, hey, enough with this Black Lives Matter stuff, but it'll become necessary. It is necessary. But yeah, like it was much less popular to say, hey, enough with this Black Lives Matter shit. That would get you like canceled and fired. But a lot of people are willing to come out and say, hey, let's not say white lives matter, when the whole point is that they should be equally as acceptable or equally as atrocious to say. Like, if you can get fired for saying, hey, enough with this Black Lives Matter shit, then it's also not acceptable to say, hey, this white lives matter shit is stupid and you shouldn't be saying white lives matter.
I say that we should be a multiracial country, not a multicultural country. Let's have one shared culture, British culture. How the police treat everyone should not matter depending on the color of their skin. And we shouldn't pretend that racism is something that only happens to ethnic minorities. It happens to everybody, black or white.
Now, for those that are listening.
Okay, that's just close. That's that was decent. That was decent. Again, I think it's interesting that people are so explicitly calling out the idea that white lives matter. But other than that, that was a pretty good speech. Fired for having American flags on their desks.
Black British woman who is saying what I think needs to be said right now. Now, it'd be interesting to rewind the tape and see if she was also eschewing or poo-pooing the Black Lives Matter mantra back in 2020 and 2021. If she was doing that, God bless her. I doubt it, but maybe. But the key aspect of what she said there was that
you never used to have these problems. Yeah, that's what I've been saying too. Like, these are self-inflicted wounds by and large. Well, not self-inflicted, again, inflicted by our leaders as an intentional attack, which is a little disturbing. And yeah, there might need to be something. They need to be stopped. Let's just leave it at that. Speaking of,
focus on what makes us the same and not what makes us different. But more importantly, she said, I'm for a multiracial country, but not a...
We should focus on things that...
There was that we need to focus on what makes us the same and not what makes us different.
Yes, as I've been saying. But if you also have to be aware that there are people out there that hate you for what you are. So it doesn't matter if you're the same or different or whatever. if there's a group out there that is targeting you, like you do have to have that group consciousness too, or everyone else is going to hate you, and you won't even be able to defend yourself. You won't even be able to acknowledge the problem.
But more importantly, she said, I'm for a multiracial country, but not a multicultural country. And implied in that was that British culture was the culture that she had taken on and embodied. And it seems as such. She speaks the language. And I think that's
that's the other thing. If they actually cared about societal cohesion and people assimilating, they'd bring in people who actually could assimilate, like they used to do. Not bring in the most tribal people and then whine about tribalism and say you can't say white lives matter.
Key lesson to take from this case and to apply it to America is that we really have no choice. That if you're going to demand that we do not have a cultural heritage, which we align ourselves with, that we perceive as being a positive thing, something that's worthy of pursuing, of uplifting, of maintaining, well, then you certainly cannot also have an ethnic melting pot. If you don't like the culture of America and you want to have open borders, you're basically saying, conquer us, destroy us as fast as possible. And this is the tragedy.
That means too many white people, they don't want to seem racist. Like, again, that's part of it, but also they just hate white people.
Of the woke worldview is that it taught that everything about American history was deeply flawed, immoral,
long march through the institution,
racist, prejudicial, blah, 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 right? And I would argue that if you're going to save the UK, if you're going to save America or Canada or Australia or France for that matter, you have to do away with that sickness, that mind virus. You have to re-embrace the fact that
you just love everyone, but politics, governments are necessary to run a country. I think everyone will be mixed in the future of the U.S. with immigrant roots and different cultures. Again, I don't really see that working personally. And again, even if so, where we got to now, and with all the chaos it's caused, it was intentional. So yeah, again, it's not about hating anyone, but this didn't need to happen. This didn't need to happen at this level, at this rate, at the frequency. That's where a bunch of the problem started. Is, again, nothing wrong with immigrants. We absolutely opened the borders both in the legal sense and to the illegal sense, and people came in way too freaking fast, and you're not going to get assimilation at that rate. So a bunch of conflicts are because of immigrants and, more importantly, immigration policy. It's because we are regarded, but again, it's because our leaders are retarded and evil. CIA psyops, of course, always, all of them.
There is value in your cultural heritage. That doesn't mean that you have to take on some sort of skin color pride. It means that you have to have some sort of affinity for your own culture, your own people. Just as I don't hold any guilt for my own skin color, I don't really carry with it any pride either. If there is a pride that I have in me, it would probably be more in alignment with the culture that I think is beneficial, that I think is productive, that I think creates the most prosperity, that creates the most security and safety and freedom and liberty and all of these other beautiful things that are so hard fought, so fleeting throughout human history, that I want my children to have the opportunity to live in as well. And believe me when I tell you, if you don't embrace
you wish we could go back to America of 2004 with Chappelle's show, or further back, but yes, the early 2000s were pretty good. Hopefully a lot of these issues are non-existent in 100 years. Agreed. Looking at human history, probably not, though, but you never know. You're keeping track of your filter count.
The culture that made these countries, you cannot have multi-ethnic civilizations that sustain themselves. There will be infighting, there will be civil wars, there will be conquests and purges, and it could get really, really dark down the road. So this is an issue that we need to deal with immediately.
Again, it's more of a thing of rate there. You can have multi-ethnic things, you just can't have multicultural things. You can have people of different ethnicities in a society and it work, but they have to integrate.
Here's what Paul Krugman had to say yesterday.
We need to defang Trump as much as possible and make sure that neither he nor anybody who follows in his footsteps has power after the next 2 elections. But beyond that, we really need to do a thorough purging of the United States. We need a
strong language.
Demogrification.
Oh!
And that is, you know, I'm not going over the top by using a word that's very similar to the denazification that we pursued successfully after World War II in Germany.
Paul Krugman's.
Jeez. Okay. Man. Purge of people like him. Yeah. Oh, man. That's crazy. And just like we say, concern, like we say, they don't call you a Nazi because they think you're a Nazi, although that guy might be retarded enough to think they're Nazis. Seems like the type. But yeah, no, it's a tool, it's a weapon. They label you that, not necessarily to kill you sometimes. That's the phrase that caught on. I have some concerns about that too, because it's often used to stifle free speech. Like, it looks like they'll call you a Nazi because they want to kill you, is saying that certain words are a direct threat, and that leads to stifling of free speech. Like that looks like a censorship excuse to me. But point is, yes, they call you a Nazi, not because they think you are one, but because they think they can use it to damage you in some ways. Yeah, all right.
Says there that we need a demogrification, and he says he's not going over the top by using the basically.
Yeah, exactly. They call you a Nazi to paint a target on your back.
Verbiage that they use with denazification after World War II. Okay, now, well, as you guys know, I'm totally off the Trump bandwagon, and I think he's a complete con man and a fraud, and probably a traitor to his country at this point. Doesn't change the fact that his base, his supporters, what were they actually calling for? They were calling for the defense of their country. They were calling for reclaiming or holding on to what remains of their cultural framework. And people like Paul Krugman, economist for the New York Times, why he would have this opinion, you can take a guess, but he wants them to be reprogrammed, essentially, re-educated. And oftentimes it's people like,
or worse,
that were the first to support the migrant floods. They were the first to applaud the brownification of America. And at some point, you just have to be honest with yourself and recognize the fact that, what is that indicative of? It's indicative of, it's evidence of a loathing, that they hate the people of America, that many of them want the.
Chappelle hates whites and doesn't like them saying the word and views them as his puppets to his bidding, so forget him. I've seen some stuff I don't like. He also goes after everyone. I don't know how he feels about white people. He said some anti-white stuff, but the other thing is, you can enjoy people's content even if they do hate you or something. Like, if you think he hates white people and care about that, don't financially support him, but you can still enjoy his content. I do believe in separating the art from the artist. I do think he has some good stuff to say. And again, like, I can even be friends with people I have different viewpoints with too. So Chappelle's a funny dude. I don't know. Like, yeah, he's got his issues, but I don't believe in cutting someone out completely for stuff. Because I mean, if you want to say that, like, he's not just like strictly on one side is the other thing. Like, if he was like a black supremacist who hates white people and goes off on white people, that would be a different thing. He's very critical of a bunch of black behavior as well. So it's not like, oh, he's anti-white. Yeah, whatever. He's allowed to be, I guess, is what I'm saying. Like, I don't like it. He said some stuff I don't like, but whatever. I don't know why I'm defending him so hard. But I don't know. I don't like cutting people out completely for single instances like that. But yeah, it is important to keep in mind, though. I'll say that, like, it is important to keep in mind, because I don't think you're completely off base. He some of that stuff has been very, very pointed and seems like in bad faith.
Those people to be subdued, to be conquered, to be thrown out or jailed or whatever it takes.
He fucking made it so he had Todd Blanche do the dirty work so that him or anybody in his family could never be audited by the IRS. What the fuck is that shit? The drone company, the $400 million jet from Qatar.
Yep.
Does this shit look like he's serving the fucking people? No. So you're going to serve that? Or are you going to speak out against it and let everybody know what the fuck is happening?
You think he'd be better off?
Fox News sure as fuck isn't reporting any of this shit.
None of it. None of it.
John Ryan with Megyn Kelly talking about how the corruption within the Trump administration is so over the top obvious at this point. And these are both Trump supporters, Trump voters. And the reason I'm playing that is because it's just so obvious that, like, those that recognize the reason that the whole build the wall mantra was as popular as it was, the whole reason that make America great again was the mantra and the mentality or the chant that people were pushing forward, was like, we all recognize that there is an aspect of our culture that is being degraded, that is being lost. And there is a desire to reclaim it or restore it, if you will. And tragically, Trump, who came to power on that mantra, has demonstrated himself to be a fraud or a sellout or a con man or compromise or scared or a bitch or a pussy or a traitor, whatever your analysis is as to his own failings. He was supposed to be the remedy, and he ain't.
The turn of Tucker, Kelly, Jones, etc. against Trump is all because they saw the money was in anti-Trump content. That's all. Frick, I don't think so, especially when, like, why they started turning on him and when and stuff. I think it was a actual ideological divide, and I don't think the phrasing turning on Trump is, again, if you want to put it that way, I've turned on Trump too. I am not a huge fan of a lot of what's been going on. Again, is he better than Kamala Harris or whatever? Yeah, I do think he has betrayed a ton of his promises, though. I mean, we just have to be upfront about that. And he is clearly, and I mean, not that this should be much of a shocker, he was lying in his first term too. And that's not always a bad thing, but he's freaking lying through his teeth. Like, he's not consistent with his own statements, and on a lot of very important stuff too. So, I mean, I don't know. Tucker turned because Qatar is paying him. I don't believe that. I don't believe that either. I will say he does sort of cozy up to China and Russia a bit more than I'd like. Again, I got nothing against. Well, I got stuff against China, but like, I'm whatever, Russia, I don't view that as big of a threat as people want to do it, but it's still, he goes overboard on cozying up to foreign countries. I'll give you that, but I don't think he's getting paid by Qatar. That seems like bullshit. You're not his biggest fan base, the best of what we had available. Yeah, again, just saying, people have different priorities when it comes to that. So I think you can, even if he is the best option, I think you can, depending on your mindset, turn against him, so to speak, despite him being the best option, if your own value system doesn't want you to support some of what he's doing, or you think it needs to be called out. I mean, we've gone over that some too, about why I think it's important to challenge the Republicans and make them better and not give unilateral and unconditional support for them. So, yeah, I mean, again, I think even if we say Trump is the best option, you can still turn on him in good faith. You would still vote for him given the modern Dems are the alternative? Ooh, okay. I was talking about that a little earlier, a couple days ago, and I've kind of turned around on the idea and think it's not the worst. The Dems are terrible. I don't want them to take the White House. I think the midterms are kind of a lost cause at this point. I think there's so much just disappointment with Trump, and it's not just Tucker, it's not just Kelly, it's not just Jones or any of that, but a bunch of people are righteously pissed off, and I don't think we have the popularity to take midterms. So I'm not saying vote for the Dems, that's retarded, but I personally will probably be voting third party on the things that I don't think I can win or that matter. I want a lot of third party votes because I think the midterms are toast anyway, and if we can get the third party votes up, that puts more power in the hands of the third party voters for the 2028 election, which does matter more. So yeah, I've kind of changed my mind on the whole it's whatever, you know what, just vote for the lesser of two evils. I'm kind of done with that. Again, in 2028, that might be a different story depending on who the Republican nominee is, because the Democrat one is probably going to be AOC or Gavin Newsom or something, who are terrible. But I want third-party voters so that we can point to that and say, look, you need to actually appeal to this because you've lost so much of the base. Yeah, so anyway, and there are Republicans that I will just not vote for too. And it's sadly it's most of the ones that look like they're up and coming too. Like I don't trust Vance. It sounds like he might not be running, but he's way too plugged in with Palantir and other weird shit like that. And then Rubio's just way too plugged in with the deep state that I thought we were all fighting. But yeah, that kind of went away too. Speaking of stuff Trump has walked back. The way he's handling the economy is so shit right now. It's insane, man. Just like Obama was basically Bush 2.0 in some ways, and he should know better. So it's really disappointing. In some ways, Trump is just Biden 2.0. Trump 2024 is Biden 2.0. We got a totally different Trump than we did the first time around. We need third-party votes or your vote useless. Yeah, kind of. Term limits. Term limits come with pros and cons. Midterms aren't impressive, but if you look at the procedural victories Trump has had, the seats Republicans need is far smaller. Possibly. I just think the Republicans are so monumentally unpopular now, and Trump is, that it's a weight around the neck of the Republicans that are trying to run. I think I could be wrong, and maybe it's for the best if I'm wrong, but I expect a blowout. Maybe not necessarily a blowout, but I expect the Republicans to lose a lot in the midterms. You need a candidate you like. You don't want to vote third party just because they're third party. True enough, but I think you're more likely to find a candidate you can find some common ground with as a third party than the standard parties. But yes, there's also that. Sometimes we don't even have good options in the third party. No, not Biden 2.0 exactly. It was better than that, of course. No, I'm saying on some issues, like the economy is absolutely fucked, and in by some metrics doing worse than Biden's at certain points. It's a total mess.
And the clock is ticking. We don't have much time left. We're going to have to get extraordinarily
okay, just because I've been a little critical, I will say again, one of the big things in Trump's favor is the border. The border is absolutely massive. I'm glad we fixed that for the most part. That is huge. And under Biden, we would be having, not that Biden was running because he dropped out, but under Biden, we would be having all these same economic problems as well as immigration problems. Like the border would still be wide open because he didn't want it closed and he didn't want to press the button. Trump, to his credit, Trump pressed the button. We talk about people never pressing the button. Trump pressed the button on the border and it was glorious.
Serious about these things. We're going to have to actually hold these politicians accountable for their own corruption. That you can no longer golf clap as
gas prices, dude. Like I'm paying $100 to fill up my car.
Trump goes around enriching himself and his family to the detriment of your own. You can no longer cash your pay to post campaigns. I'm talking to you. You know who I'm talking to. The influencers that are out there that are lying through their fucking teeth because they know damn well, just as well as you and I do, that this country is being destroyed and it is not being helped at all by the Trump administration, but they'll continue to cash those checks and lie through their teeth about it. Basically what I'm saying is there needs to be a far greater sense of urgency, that there has to be demands that are held to with serious teeth behind them, that this must be remedied in the short term, not the long term, because we don't have the long term to look at any longer. The economic debt bomb is coming. The demographic shifts are coming. The woke academics that came out of college through the 08 through 18 hellscape are reaching the highest levels of power and the highest levels of government or the judiciary. We are running out of time. That's just the sad truth.
What's core MAGA now?
I have no idea.
I think I know. Trump has said from the beginning, and he's
Pedophile supporting Israeli lobby? Well, I mean,
Jeez.
I have no idea.
need a different acronym. But Trump has said from the beginning that he defines what MAGA is. MAGA is what I say.
Nice.
It is.
You
He has
built
said
an
it.
e-bike?
He's not wrong. It's his moniker. It's his campaign slogan. The problem for Trump now is that he has defined MAGA literally to those who agree with Mark Levin. If you don't agree with Mark Levin, you're not MAGA, which means you must be a neocon whose main issue is what's in the best interest of Israel. And that defines MAGA down to nothing. It's a nub. So what's that? It's not.
There's only one way to do it short term. So what exactly is he truly saying? I don't know. Like, you can do it still somewhat short term from within the system too, kind of like what I was talking about. If you can actually put pressure on the politicians, it's a bit of a pipe dream, to be fair. But yeah, I mean, there are ways, and we need that cultural awakening, like I've been talking about, like other people have been talking about. Like, people just need to get their shit together and realize this is an issue, and that does involve more people talking about it too. That does involve people being a bit more precise about what they're asking for.
It's not large. It's not important. It's not cool. It's not appealing to young people. It has no future. Much like Mark Levin himself, it's old, it's angry, and it's dying. They don't represent the right, and they definitely don't represent the future.
The reason I wanted to end with that is because
I do find it wild, and I've talked about this many times, but like, again, I'm talking the highest level, not the people who still support Trump, but the highest level of so-called core MAGA, like they were talking about there, are the never Trumpers. They're the people who were against Trump, and then once he got in, they weaseled their way in. It's wild that Mark Levin has an actual like government position. It's advisory or whatever, I believe. But like, the fact that Mark Levin has the ear of the president and apparently it gets listened to is absurd. And again, Mark Levin hates Trump, or at least hated Trump. You're so fucking sick of IDF psyops and people supposedly on your side running interference for them. I'm sick of all the psyops, including the IDF ones. Yeah, no, it gets painful. Last year, gas went from $2.30 a gallon to $4 a gallon. Yep, and grocery prices way up too. The affordability crisis.
there. It's not cool. It's angry. It's dying. It's time to move on. That's the part left unsaid there. It's time to move on. MAGA was a fun moment, but it's gone. It was built up on some really positive ideas, and it ultimately delivered very few of them. And with it, it was skin suited with neoconservatism.
Wait, what? Where your gas prices are going down? That doesn't sound right, man. My gas prices are still way high, and yeah, interesting. Okay, cool though. That's crazy.
Once again, in fact, it took kind of a inverse
all
of
good.
the wokeness that the Democrats were pushing.
I believe you.
Obviously, with Israelis or Jewish people being the protected class. And my point in all of this is that we're going to need to find whatever it is that still ties us, that binds us together. If you're not comfortable with it being ethnicity, fine. Let it be cultural heritage. Let it be some sort of ideology that binds us together. Let it be the American experiment, the American dream, the Bill of Rights.
Exactly. Values. That's what we've been saying. Values. Got to figure out what actually matters and defend it. Because apparently there are people out there who hate values, hate skin color, hate all that shit.
The embrace of peace, prosperity, privacy, liberty, all of the things that were very unique to the foundation of this country. Whatever it is that binds a people together, whatever positive characteristics that you still feel.
He is incorrect. Trump can say what he wants, but he was an avatar, not the core. It's a mix because he has so much influence and because he was the figurehead. Like, it's true it's not his, but it's also true that it is his, because, and I know that sounds contradictory, but like, what he does affect MAGA, and as we've seen, we've got a bunch of people who are feeling disenfranchised with this, and they're walking away. So in a sense, Trump is correct when he says that MAGA is who supports him. Like the people currently identifying as MAGA are the Trump supporters, and the ones who were MAGA but left because they don't like what Trump is doing are no longer MAGA. So he is correct that MAGA is who he says it is and who supports him.
Feel a fondness towards in this country. We need to unite around that, and we need to do it fucking fast. Because if we don't, there will be more Henry Nowaks. There will be more protests and riots and violence and escalation. There will be more police crackdowns and hate speech laws and censorship and thought policing and all of the same nonsense that we've been dealing with. All of that is going to escalate naturally upon itself unless we can actually recognize what is it that brings us together. What is it that we are actually fighting to defend, to sustain, to maintain, to build up again? And I'll leave you with that. I hope you'll think about it sincerely. I think it is the question of our time, and I think it is ultimately going to dictate our future. If you enjoyed this episode, please do hit the like button, hype it so that it helps hit the algo a little bit harder. I think you swipe right on the chat, and then there's a hype option. You guys have hyped every one of my episodes for like the last 10. I could not be more appreciative. The show continues to grow in popularity. If you're listening on Spotify right now, please do subscribe.
There will be insert Tim Pool's favorite phrase. It was a good video, but man had some pissed off spikes during it. Yeah. Man, yeah, some of that stuff's rough.
I get like more listeners on Spotify than I have subscribers every single episode. So, hey, hi, new guy. If you could hit the subscribe button to help me out, I'd appreciate it. Anyways, I absolutely love doing this, and I love you guys. And despite the fact that I'm covering a very negative thing, I still, if you can't tell, at my core, I'm functioning from a place of love and optimism and hope. And I believe we can fucking make it through. So
hopefully.
let's do that. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.
Subscribe to Liberty Lockdown. Great podcast. Clint is tight.
Parasocial relationship, yes. So yeah, I think we'll go on the same subject. We'll go over to check out Dankula's thing here too. Thanks for watching. Peace. I'll be right back. Alrighty. Do we go right into that one? Or there was another one I saw that looked interesting. Yeah, maybe we take a brief break before jumping right into the same story and check out Belgian court rules that facts are hate speech. Let's go.
Belgian court rules factually correct remarks can be hate speech. And we're finally arriving at the final destination of all hate speech laws. That's the point.
Interesting tie-in to if facts are hate speech, then but misinformation is also hate speech. Like again, they talk out of both sides of their mouth. They claim to care about the truth, but then it's also like, oh well, facts can be hate speech.
That's a real reason, but I'll save it for the end. Critics said the ruling amounted to criminalising the truth about migration, which it in fact is. A Belgian court has ruled that even factually correct statements can constitute criminal hate speech if used to incite hatred. So basically, they are
Math is racist. Math is racist. I've told you before too. It's illegal in, I think it was Oregon that did that. It's illegal to use math in your own defense if you're not a licensed mathematician. It was basically literally the "Oi, you got a license for that" meme.
It's like, no, stop that. That might make people think the correct way because they now have all the facts and information. Right? If people arrive at that conclusion with the facts, there's not much you can do about that. So basically, they want to criminalize facts. They want to, we're going to criminalize the way you.
They also put that. You're a huge math nerd, by the way. Nice. It reminds me of, they put that. That's a good pause too. They put that dude who did the. I think that was also anti-immigrant stickers on stuff that, and they put him in jail. And even though the stickers they said were not illegal or like illegal speech,
present them. Right, like fucking hell, man. The ruling came as anti-migration activist Dries van Langenhove was convicted for a second time over remarks linking mass migration to crime. This is van Langenhove's second such conviction, following a speech he delivered at a university in Leuven in February 2024, in which he linked mass migration to crime. The activist on Tuesday,
how dare
quoted
he?
The judge is writing in his ruling, even if all of the statements made by van Langenhove are based on scientific evidence and statistics, it makes no difference to the criminal intent. So basically, if there's a point you want to prove, which you should be able to because you have a human right to freedom of speech and you should be allowed to make any point you want and have the freedom to say it. However, academically, if you're making any kind of academic point, you need to use facts and information and statistics to back that up, which is what he did. So basically, if the point you want to prove is a naughty, naughty, no-no point, doesn't matter how much facts you have to prove that your point is in fact correct, you're not allowed to do that. They've criminalized truth.
Interesting. That is grim. Yeah, if only people had seen this coming. You got a license for that license?
Sorry, they've criminalized inconvenient truths that don't fit with the message. Right? That is extremely dangerous, and that makes Belgium a not democratic country in any way. It's now on par with North Korea. You're not allowed to speak the truth. You're not allowed to speak the truth because it's inconvenient. And the government's like, no, we need our little wage slaves.
I forget. I'm not sure if it was this case, but I heard another story where it was saying that specifically you're not allowed to say the truth because the truth is too powerful or whatever. So it was like, because it's true, it might cause civil unrest or something like that. So they're literally saying that it carries more weight and is more illegal because it's true.
We need our cheap labor. We need our wide range of restaurants. Bah! Because that's literally my GDP. Like, the thing that's hilarious right now is, see, the overwhelming majority of politicians don't understand how economics work. Basically, the GDP that we're apparently supposed to get through mass migration has not arrived. It has not arrived at all. In fact, it is falling.
And it was alive from the start, especially GDP per capita.
Actually falling, and in the future it is going to plummet even more because we have so many people putting their hands in the pot that didn't pay into the pot, and the pot's eventually going to be empty. So,
if only someone had warned about that too. If only people knew. No, they did, and again, the leaders don't care and did it intentionally.
The little gamble that they try, don't worry, if we do even more migrants, the GDP will eventually come, and we've done that, and it's still not coming. It's still not coming. So, but basically, not allowed to point that out. Not allowed to say such things. That's illegal. That might incite hate. You're not allowed to incite hate against people. Unless it's people we've approved hate of course. That's completely allowed. Van Langenhove was not charged with spreading false information. The judge is just fully admitting he was right. He is charged with presenting facts in a way that incites hatred against persons on the ground of one or more of the protected criteria in the anti-racism law. So what the judge has basically said is, you pointed out that people were criminals, and these people are committing horrific crimes against the Belgian people. And while that information is completely correct, you're not allowed to say that, right? So basically, this judge is enabling an entire ideology around allowing Belgians to be harmed because you're not allowed to point it out. The judge is basically saying, it's the same stuff that happened with Sam Melia when he was getting interviewed by fucking MI5 and all the Prevent people, where they were like, yeah, you're correct. You're totally factually correct, but can you, like, stop pointing it out, please? Like, that is despotic. Absolutely despotic. Absolute violation of his human rights. Utter violation of his human rights. And he should file it with the ECHR after he tries to appeal the sentences. However, just telling you now, Verlangenhoven, the ECHR are, even though they're supposed to be the European Convention of Human Rights, and under Article 10 of the actual convention, you should have a right to freedom of speech. Section 1 is a beautifully written, absolutely a magical piece of legislation. And then Section 2 of Article 10 totally fucks all of it up. You have the right to freedom of speech to say and do and blah, blah, blah.
But
etc. Wonderful, wonderful. And then Section 2 goes, unless
yep,
it makes a bunch of these vague criteria which differs depending on what region and what district that you're in, and basically a nice big vague area. Prosecutors can use it to mean whatever the fuck they want in the moment, or the ECHR can use it as an absolute cop-out from taking your appeal case. Right, so I hate to tell you, you've got a little bit of a fight ahead of you if you want to get the ECHR to even give a shit. Dutch commentator Eva Vlading, fucking real language, described the judge's comments as proof that the establishment is criminalising the truth. She called on European conservatives to come together in Van Langenhove's defence. Former German MP Frauke Petry also criticised the ruling as completely insane, asking, what have the politicians made of this beautiful Europe? And Rod Dreher said the staggering conviction raised the question, why do people stand for it? Well, I've been doing my best. I've been doing my best to make everyone as free speech pilled as I possibly can. Right, that's just basically what I'm doing now, right? My case did the majority of the work. I'm just trying to...
You're freer than ever to do exactly as you're told. Yes, exactly. You can have what's that? You can have your car in any color you want as long as it's black or something like that. Yeah, just like, yep, no, you're free if you do exactly what you're supposed to within the confines of the system. And it's like the if you've got nothing to hide, you've got nothing to fear as well. It's just like, oh yeah, no, you can have your freedom, just you don't have freedom of privacy, any of that stuff, and we'll get you for the wrong think.
Maintain it all. I'm trying to make everybody should be free speech pilled, right? Everybody's playing a game of political football. You know, I'll admit I've got my own team. However, I'm trying to stop the other team from having the referee in their fucking pocket, right?
Hey, Code, a bunch of stuff. And while you think the U.S. has peaceful options left, you don't think Europe has any peaceful options left to free themselves from the commie tyrants? I don't see it that way. Again, it is as simple as people waking up, which I know sounds like a long shot, but it can happen quicker than you think, especially since you only need, like, it builds on itself. Like we've talked about before, you only need like 10 or so % of the population to really get a movement started, and then other people will get on board as well. So it's not, things are a mess over there for sure. I don't think it's hopeless though, and I think it's important. I always encourage people to reject the black pill. Be realistic though, like if it's actually a black pill scenario, you got to accept the black pill, but by and large, I don't think most things are full black pill yet. Things fucking suck, like I said, but I think Europe still has peaceful options. Groups like Restore Britain, yes, hopefully. Again, politicians, not always the best to put your hope in, but seem pretty good, and hopefully they get in power, and hopefully they stick to their promises. But even if not, again, if enough people wake up, they can just say, hey, stop this shit, basically.
How about we have a nice neutral referee, and then everybody can play ball, and whoever's the better player, they get to win. That's the way things should be. However, the other side have realised that they're fucking shite and they can't fucking play, so they have to bribe the referee. Right? And they know that if things were played fairly, they would fucking lose, which is why they're trying their hardest to hold on to that bit of power that they have.
Yep, exactly. Consensus can shift incredibly quickly.
The news has even gained the attention of US Undersecretary of State Sarah B. Rogers, who warned policymakers worried about the rise of the so-called far right should avoid criminalizing accurate, data-driven political speech about mass migration, as this ruling appears to explicitly contemplate. Doing so...
We need some of our guys on the inside. Yes. It's very interesting. I've been thinking about that a lot, just about the so-called levers of power and the system. And unfortunately, the system kind of eats up and chews out a lot of people that go through it. So even our guys that get in there might not be our guys anymore. But yes, if it can be done, we do need our own people inside the system as well. Window shift and pendulum swing hopefully come back the other way now. Problem with the pendulum swing is it swings all the way back. If that pattern continues, it's going to go too far the other way. But yes, we need to bring it back, and hopefully we can stop before the pendulum swing completely completes, while still having enough energy to deal with the problems in a humane way that need to be dealt with. But yeah, the pendulum swing can be a little dangerous, which is why actually they're not smart enough. I was going to say that's why they're fighting it so hard, but they're just trying to hold on to their power. They don't even realize what could potentially be coming down the road.
Means that people willing to be convicted of racism get a monopoly on making arguments that strike large segments of the public as important and true. Van Langenhove said he avoided prison only because of what he described as a technicality in Belgian law. And here we are at the end of the article. Basically, Van Langenhove has absolutely 100% had his human rights violated. Because you don't have a human right for people not to hate you. That doesn't exist. That doesn't exist at all.
Correct.
Sometimes I hate people even though I'm trying my hardest not to hate them. I'm trying to like them and get along with them. Unfortunately, they make me hate them. There's nothing that I can fucking do about that. However, in the case of this, he was presenting factual information, but that factual information was making people arrive at an inconvenient truth. So basically, the Belgian government has outlawed the truth. Right, because the truth is making people think things that they don't want. Well, to the Belgian authorities and that judge, tough fucking shit. You don't get to have your way all the fucking time, and no, people don't have to believe in your ideology all the time. People are allowed to present counter-arguments. It's basically like that...
People were allowed to present counter-arguments. That's a thing of the past now, apparently.
That clip for liar, liar. Oh, objection. On what grounds? On the grounds that this is devastating to my case. Like, that's literally the argument for speech laws.
True.
Right, basically, all hate speech laws, every single speech law, everywhere it started, in every nation that has ever existed, has always eventually resulted in not being able to criticize the government. Every single time. Everywhere. Every nation that became despotic, even ancient civilizations that haven't been around for thousands of years, they all experienced the same thing. All speech laws eventually morphed into not being able to criticize the government or the things that the government is doing, which is why they introduced the speech laws, because that is their true end goal.
The higher the pendulum gets lifted by one side, the more damage it can do when it finally breaks free to swing the other way. Yes, and I do think we're already seeing the pendulum starting to swing.
That is their true end goal. It's not to protect the races or protect the fence or fucking protect all that shit. Is to eventually morph those laws into not being able to criticize the government. Like I've said very, very many times, democracy is just authoritarianism driving the speed limit.
Not even sure it's always driving the speed limit. Again, my issue with democracy is that it's used as a bread and circus is basically to make the people think they have more power than they do, so they don't object to more nonsense. You can ban speech, but it's like replacing a fuse with a wire and doing the shocked Pikachu face when it starts a fire. Yep. Okay, I think we go to the riots. Ahoy, we're back with more Noack stuff. We watched another one, and this is about the aftermath, the riots. Let's see what we got.
So, as was kind of expected, especially in when the news of Henry Novak's murder came out, and especially after the body cam footage was released, where he's telling the officers over and over that he's been stabbed, and one of the officers says, "I don't think so, mate."
Don't think you have, mate.
He had in fact been stabbed and was in fact bleeding out, but the officers decided to handcuff him while he was dying and not give him any kind of medical attention until it was way too late.
The corrupt literally rely on us to only use our words without actions. They are free to ignore us as much as they want. Somewhat true. I don't think it's complicated, because I think once you resort to that, things get even messier. And it's not always the way. I think it is better to find a peaceful solution before the extreme solution. But you are correct that without at least the implication that force is on the table, there's no reason. Like they don't have to listen to just our words. So it doesn't have to be a violent response, but it does have to be a sufficiently unified and powerful response where the option of violence is clearly on the table, basically. So yeah, the actions don't have to be violent. The actions can be mass organization. But again, they've gotten pretty good at squelching that as well, with all the sowing of division. So yeah, it gets tricky to fight back. That's for sure.
And it was all because that Vikram Digwa, whatever the hell his name is, basically says, "Oh, he did a racism to me." And the police went, "Oh, well, just, bugger his human rights then. He can die on the ground in handcuffs then." Because that guy made up a bunch of nonsense so that he could get away with killing someone. 2 arrests as 11 officers hurt in Novak protests. Two people have been arrested.
Extreme nuance required. Yep.
Sorry, I'm using autofocus on this thing and it's really not working, even though I'm literally not moving. Sorry. 2 people have been arrested and 11 officers and 1 police dog were injured after... Oh, why the dog? After protesters clashed with police near the site of 18-year-old Henry Novak's fatal stabbing. Now, the focus is going to annoy me, so I'm actually just going to change it right now. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now I'm going to lean. Stop. Over there. Oh. Hey, there we go. Okay. Now, if I just don't lean back too much, it should be fine. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer joined Southampton MPs. Go away.
Oh God, this is going to be good.
MPs in condemning the violence, calling the scenes disgraceful and completely unacceptable. Police were, do you know what was unacceptable?
I was going to say pretty much those exact same words. You know what's unacceptable?
Disgraceful and completely unacceptable. Police were, do you know what was unacceptable? Police handcuffing a dying man because they heard the word racism and they went into, basically British police mode. Police were pelted with missiles in clashes on Tuesday evening near the home of Novak's killer, Vikram Digwa, in the Portswood area because, the guy's address got doxed. The 23-year-old was jailed for life with a minimum 21-year term on Monday, and the clashes with police came amid tensions and scrutiny over why officers arrested and handcuffed Novak as he lay dying.
Again, there was a racism. A racism had happened. Of course, they had to handcuff him. Well, an alleged racism, but all alleged racism is real. Trust the racism. Believe all racism.
With a large blade he said he carried for religious reasons, then lied to police at the scene, falsely claiming he was the victim of a racist attack, leading officers to arrest Novak instead of his killer. Bodycam footage was later released showing Novak in handcuffs repeatedly telling officers he had been stabbed. The Independent Office for Police Conduct has since launched an investigation into the force's response. I think, considering the fact that their actions, basically their complete fuckery, caused the man's death, these officers should be going to prison. I mean, how long did How long did fucking George Floyd, how long did his, killers get? How long did they get? They all get like life sentences.
Yeah, I was gonna say the main guy, Chauvin, I think got like 26 years or something. And like whether or not you like how that all broke, again, we were talking about that earlier too. So George Floyd situation is not as it's portrayed, but we don't even have to get into that. Even if it happened exactly like they say it happened, and Chauvin was guilty, the way that trial went was still very sketchy, and the feds were putting their thumb on the scale in a big way to force things in a specific direction, and that's not good. Like even if he's guilty as sin, the way it was handled is still not great, and he got screwed over.
Stuff like that. So I think that's the case that should happen here. These officers should go to prison. They caused a man's death. They caused a man's death, and basically, if any of us cause someone's death, we fucking get sent to jail for manslaughter and everything, right? So basically, I think the officers should go to prison. They caused a man's death. But anyway, a crowd initially took part in the demonstration.
Is the title a threat or a taunt? Either way, I got it. Why can't I super chat? Because I'm not monetized. I should do that at some point. Again, there are reasons I can't exactly at the moment. But yeah, there will be a time. There will be a time people who want to give me money can give me money at some point. And the title is... the title a threat or a taunt? Like, now I'd have to think about that. Kind of both, but not from me. Not from me. The title is a reference to this Henry Nowak's situation we're talking about. He was stabbed multiple times, and the police handcuffed him and while he was dying, and when he said he'd been stabbed, they said, "I don't think you have, mate." So that's where that comes from. That's the title, is because that's what we're talking about today. I don't think you have, mate. It's pretty wild. Pirate hates money. No, I love money. Give me money.
Demonstration outside the city centre police station before gathering close to the Digwa family home. Opening Prime Minister's questions, Sir Keir told the Commons, Henry Nowak's family have shown extraordinary dignity after their son's life was stolen in appalling circumstances.
Gotcha. You know the story. But yeah, no, it's I don't think you have, mate. It's insane.
Was clearly a kind and thoughtful and much loved young man. There are serious questions to answer, including how accusations of racism informed police thinking, and we are supporting the IOPC to get to the bottom of what happened, because I think it's because basically the anti-racism stuff has just been drummed right into British police all up and down the country.
Yep.
It's why basically burglaries and rapes and everything just go, if grooming gangs get ignored, unsolved and all that stuff, but if someone sends like a naughty tweet, then they're coming out to your door and they are arresting you. And because of the nature of your naughty hate crime, you don't get released the next day or get processed that same day. You are held in the police cells until court. Do you know what? That's the rule. That's what happened to me as well. See, if your crime's a hate crime, doesn't matter how minor, you're held until your court date, and you better hope you don't get picked up on a Friday. Otherwise, you're in there until Monday morning. But no matter the pain we feel...
What did... I missed the story. I saw that Pseudo and Silas opened up Ko-Fi or whatever, but they were getting trolled into doing it. All right, don't threaten me. I'll do it. I'll set up some Ko-Fi or Patreon or Subscribestar or whatever, because that I can do even if I can't monetize here directly. What was I going to say? I got distracted by that. Because yeah, that's funny. Let's see. What was I going to say?
There is no justification for more violence and disorder. I don't know, man. I think people that are really, really upset and angry at a system that causes stuff like this, I think people have a right to be angry. Because that could have been their son, their father, their brother lying bleeding out on the street, and while their attacker stands over them still with the knife, right, the police are handcuffing them. Oh, did you do a racism? Well then, fuck you, sir. Right, I think people have every right to be upset about that. Everyone's got every right to be very upset about that as well. Basically, trusting the police right now is at an all-time low. and this incident just nuked the tiny little bit that was left. I'm now at a point where if I am the victim of a crime, I hope the cops don't show up.
Oh yeah, that's what I was gonna say. When he was talking about like hate crimes get you put in jail and you're not allowed to leave. It's wild because hate crime is largely a meaningless term, and it doesn't even have to be applied to crimes. Like I was talking about with the sticker situation, you can be accused of something that is legal, but they can tack on like hate designations to it. And again, the accusation alone will get you in jail, apparently. So what you do doesn't even have to be a crime. But if they say it's a hate incident or whatever, they can just like frickin' put you in jail.
I hope they don't fucking show up, right? Because they're just going to handcuff me, pin me to the ground, make it worse, let the killer get... The killer just has to go, oh, but he did a racism. He said a naughty racist thing, and then the officers are just going to immediately side with him because, honestly, it's Pavlovian at this point. Basically, police officers hear racism, and just all logic and reason completely goes out the window. It's like their MK Ultra activation phrase. They just immediately target the nearest white person. Like that's what they do. The police, honestly, they're a complete fucking joke now when it comes to this shit. The Prime Minister also said Nigel Farage's appeal for rage in response to the death of Novak was unforgivable, as he clashed in the Commons.
You know what else was unforgivable? I mean, we could do this all day. It's unforgivable. But yeah, once again, similar to what we were talking about with the we can't say white lives matter. It's very specific. Again, people lost their jobs for saying, oh, let's not talk about black lives matter. Like that was hateful, but everyone is willing to come out and say, hey, we can't say white lives matter. We're all just one, man. All lives matter. Jake Monroe is in Britain, Chance, is that what you're saying? I'm not sure. Time to learn doctorship. Yeah, I mean, again, community is very important, and unironically, like, people should learn, and I include myself in that. I'm not educated on this, but people should learn first aid, and people should have friends that know first aid. And I think that's one good thing about a lot of what's going on is people are waking up to this. I think it's kind of ironic. I think people will start moving almost backwards to values that were in the past. Like we're already seeing a increase in homeschooling. We're seeing an increase in home gardening. I think we will see an increase in medical training. People need to learn skills and become more self-sufficient, and not just self-sufficient, but community sufficient, and organize. And I think we will be seeing that.
With the Reform UK leader. Farage argued that the UK had two-tier policing and that officers were told to treat different ethnic groups differently. Yeah, that's actually in the hate crime, not the hate crime operational guidance handbook. That basically dictates when an arrest can constitute, and it basically means fucking any time. Just basically even perceived racism. You could have not had a racist bone in your body or a racist thought in your head at all, but if your victim perceives racism, as ethnic minorities constantly fucking do, because they know as soon as they call, see if they've done something to you, they just have to say, oh, that guy was being racist, and that was it. I know so many guys where there's been...
And they know it. I mean, they know they can get away with the using racism as an excuse. Like, it really is, like he's talking about, it is a two-tier system. You have specific legal advantages if you're not white. You have two gardens going? Heck yeah.
In many a corner shop where there was no racism uttered at all, and the guys behind the counter were at fault, and they go, oh, he was calling me the P word, and I've no, they weren't. And everyone but the police.
What, you know what's wild too is well, for one thing, this is already over here in America too, not as widespread, but it is over here in America, and it can be used retroactively. Like there is that, where is that? Also some blue state, I think. It might have also been Oregon, but there was someone who was murdered, just stabbed. I think he might have lived, but yeah, he was stabbed, and it was like his stabber was found not guilty because after he had been stabbed, this guy was in frustration allegedly said like some racial slurs to this guy or something. So you can walk up and stab someone if you're non-white, and if the guy I think he was black specifically. So yeah, if you're black, you can walk up and stab someone, and if that guy says, "Hey, why'd you stab me?" and I guess it's all fine because it was a he provoked you to stab you after, because he said something rude after you stabbed him. It's freaking insane, man. But yeah, it's a get out of jail free. I would too if you just got stabbed, right?
Arrest that guy, because as soon as they hear racism, they go up and just, in many cases, they arrest the victim. And that's the thing is, ethnic minorities know that they can get away with that. They know that that's their get out of jail free card.
Oh, dude was shot in Portland for wearing a MAGA hat from years ago. One of those protests. Yeah, we've seen a few assassinations of Trump supporters. There's also, I think that was Denver, that guy who got shot while he had the pepper spray. That was fucked up. I think that guy got off. The other guy, the Portland killer, at least the law hunted him down and actually like ended him too, because he was so insane that he drew on the police too. If that's the one I'm thinking of. So yeah, that guy was an utter piece of shit. Like specifically said, "Hey, we've got a MAGA or something like this or whatever," and shot him, I think, in the back of the head or something like that. So yeah, that guy just fucking jumped that dude, shot that dude, ran out of state, got hunted down, and dealt with by the police. But yeah, that was insane, man. But yeah, and like I said, not the first time. Like, we've had multiple Trump supporters killed for being Trump supporters. You remember the story? It wasn't even a protest. It was just some guy walking home from work one random night. I think it was after a protest. I thought he was part of it. I could be wrong, but like, it was after a protest, and I believe he was connected. Not that it makes a huge difference, but like, this guy was hunted a Trump supporter after a protest.
Accuse the person who was the victim of...
I think I might be mixing stories. Maybe. I thought that was the shooter there. It could be wrong.
Your crime of racism. That, by the way, this isn't a new thing. This has been something for a very, very long time. Very, very long time in Britain. But it's now got to the point where a young man has lost his life because of it, which is giving me hope that they're going to revamp the entire system. However, government getting rid of some of their power, they're never going to do that. Responding, Sir Keir said, "I don't believe there's two-tier policing in this country." In other words...
wasn't there a guy who mowed down a MAGA teen with his car a few years back too? Yeah, and he got off too. The guy was literally just walking home from work and got shot in the back of the head. Maybe there's two stories there or something, but I'm pretty sure the one I'm thinking of was involved in the protest. But again, could be wrong. I'm seeing Aaron J. Danielson, 39-year-old supporter of the right-wing group Patriot Prayer, was shot and killed in Portland, Oregon, 2020, following clashes between pro-Trump caravan and counter-protesters. He was allegedly shot by Michael Reinhold, a self-described anti-fascist activist who later admitted to the killing in an interview, claiming he acted in self-defense to protect a friend. The police found no knife on Danielson. Reinhold was charged with second-degree murder, but was shot and killed by a federal fugitive task force on September 3rd, 2020, in Lacey, Washington, during an arrest attempt. So yeah, maybe there are two stories, but I was completely correct for the record. For the record, streamer was correct. Yeah, so this guy shot a Patriot Prayer member after a protest and fled the state and was gunned down. Yep. But yeah, and okay, that's fine. Again, I'm not saying I don't believe you. I'm just saying that the story I was talking about, he was involved. But yeah, and the guy who got mowed down, that was crazy too. The guy said he feared for his life from this scene, but then left and came back and mowed the guy down or something like that. Absolutely, absolutely insane leftist behavior.
Flagrant evidence of exactly that we see every single day almost in the papers. You know, just ignore all of that. I don't think they're two-tier policing. Then why are you getting grooming gangs and fucking migrant rapists that are getting off with little slaps in the wrist? And everyone, why are ethnic minorities just getting away with so many fucking crimes, like all over the place? But as soon as a white person does a little bit of racism, which to be fair, I think they've every right to be after all the stuff that they've fucking seen, right? And
I thought both sides were equally violent. That's what the media keeps telling you. Yeah, the media lies. The media lies.
But you send out the SWAT unit for the white guy, but you're giving, what was it, 3 teenagers raped a bunch of girls and filmed.
The reason they always think they're being genocided is because they think it's logical course of action. Who's being genocided? There's the dude that got framed and self-deleted too. I mean, there's a bunch of shit
on their phone, and you give them community payback orders, and a little fine. Like, and you expect people to not get racist. We see stuff like this every day, and you're genuinely expecting people to not become racist. I think that's a little bit unreasonable, right? I think if people see dogs chewing each other up and fucking ripping people apart and getting attacked by dogs all the time, people might start to not like dogs.
You're saying Danielson wasn't part of the protest earlier that day, but was a Trump supporter and in other groups. Interesting. I thought he was connected to the protest.
Right,
I still think he probably was, but could be wrong.
Let's not Fed post on men. But anyway,
what were you gonna Fed post about?
Dogs chewing each other up and fucking ripping people apart and getting attacked by dogs all the time, people might start to not like dogs. Right, I'm like, in fact, let's not Fed post on men. But anyway, I'm really shocked that he pretends to have respect for Henry's family and then acts this way. If only the cops had respect for Henry's family. Makeshift weapons. Chief Constable Alex Boone said, "We understand and appreciate as police officers that we are accountable for our actions. What we ask, however, is that those actions are judged through fair and transparent processes. In this case, that process is already underway with the IOPC conducting their independent investigation." Yeah. It should be fair and transparent processes. Everything should be followed legally and to the letter. Like when someone tells you that they've been stabbed, you should follow the process of checking to make sure that they are and immediately administering medical attention while the ambulance is on its way that you should have immediately called for.
Danielson was wearing a MAGA hat, but was at work on the day of the protest? Okay, maybe I'm wrong. Hey, Keen, how do you give me money? You don't use Kick or Twitch. Again, due to some technical issues, I'm not monetized on YouTube. I will think about, well, not even think about, I'll make a note right now and try to get some stuff set up for if people want to give me money, because that would be awesome. Like someone was mentioning, Coffee, Patreon, Subscribestar, yeah, I'll look into that and get that set up. I am technically monetized on Rumble because you're just monetized automatically. People have given me gift subs a couple times, but other than that, you hope I get a lot of kindness through it. That'd be awesome. Again, I don't expect much, but like I've said, I'm not in this for the money, but I also am spending a lot of time and money on this, especially with the AI subscriptions and everything now when we're doing that side of things. So yeah, I mean, basically, I'm doing fine money wise, but like time is money, and I'm not doing fine time wise. So yeah. Oh yeah. Technically I get penny dollars for that. It's like I get like 19 cents sometimes on Rumble per episode. You do use Rumble? But yeah, no, money is cool. I like money.
That's the problem.
But again, don't expect it. I don't expect, or again, I guess I should ask for things, but I don't. Yes, I don't know. It's weird. It's weird. Hey man, if you're willing to do it for free, you deserve to get paid. You care about what you do. That's why you deserve to get paid. Yeah, and like I said, I will definitely open up the option, but it still just feels weird. But you like pocket change? Heck yeah. But yeah, no, the whole idea of getting paid for it does seem weird. But again, time, a lot of time going into this. So yeah, I don't know. It makes me feel weird. Anyway, let's continue.
Or someone's been seriously injured, because even if someone has committed a crime, doesn't matter if it's the worst fucking paedophile in the world, you still have a duty of care as a police officer to make sure that no harm comes to that person so that they can stand trial.
Yep.
But you didn't do that in this case, because you just heard the word racism and blinders on, foaming at the mouth and everything, because that's just the way police officers are now. Some clearly arrived intent on causing disorder and what we as a society cannot accept is the violent scenes we saw in Southampton last night.
Once again, I'll tell you what we can't accept. All right, thank you, Whiskers. Just don't let it cloud your vision. You'll be fine. Yeah.
Clearly arrived intent on causing disorder and trouble. We saw bottles thrown, makeshift weapons used, damage caused to the homes and vehicles of innocent residents, and threats and violence directed towards our officers.
I don't think you did, mate.
Boone said he expected the number of arrests to rise as investigations continue, and that residents would see more officers patrolling the area in the coming days, with specialist teams supporting them. Oh, we've got more officers.
Specialist teams. They're going to send specialist teams all over the place. Good job, buddy.
After the fact. Yay. Where were they at the time? Oh, yeah, sorry, they were arresting the young man while he lay dying. But anyway, the tensions...
Yeah, they arrested the victim, and now they're threatening the people pissed off about it. Absolutely wild.
Prompted Labour MP Darren Paffy, who represents Southampton Mitchin, to appeal for calm, adding that whipping up violence had no place in the city. Paffy referred to a statement given by Novak's family on the steps of Southampton Crown Court. Henry's dad said they don't want his death to create further division, hatred, or tension.
Henry's dad said they don't want his death to create further division, hatred, or tension. Holy shit, going after the family like that. And I don't know, like, they seemed pretty, hey, this isn't right, we need to solve this or whatever. Like, that's different than division, hatred, and tension, but like they were coming after it. So if they changed their tune and were like, hey, we don't want that the organizations got to them. We have the DOJ's community relations team. I always forget the exact one, but we have a whole taxpayer funded organization that goes around to victims families who have been affected by non-white crime, and basically tell them how they should say things and how they should de-escalate the situation, because, you know, considering we're talking about UK, don't look back in anger, basically.
Of course, yeah, by the way, see whatever the family's saying, ignore it. They will definitely have had a visit from the nudge unit. And yet what we saw last night is entirely the opposite of that, the MP said. He added, hordes of people...
The nudge unit?
Or tension. Of course, yeah, by the way, see whatever the family's saying, ignore it. They will definitely have had a visit from the nudge unit.
A narco-tyranny, like we're talking about, a narco-tyranny. The government will come to you after their policies murder your family members and then tell you what to say to keep the peace, which is supposed to be their job anyway.
And yet what we saw last night is entirely the opposite of that, the MP said. He added, hordes of people came from outside.
The dad of that kid who got stabbed in the U.S. said something similar. Who was that again? Are you talking Metcalf? Yeah. A bunch of these families have done that. Again, like there's an organization that goes around coaching them. Allegedly. And I think that did get ended. I'm not sure if it got brought back because a bunch of the stuff that got ended by Doge did end up getting brought back, which is a fucking shame. But I do believe that division might have been closed.
There were people saying they had travelled 4 hours to come and make their voices heard. People
Track me. Yeah, I think that's Metcalf you're talking about. Who that black kid showed up in their tent and ended up stabbing him. Yep.
in their homes last night would have been really disturbed to see what was going on outside them. I think they would have been even more disturbed to see a young man getting stabbed to death.
Yeah.
I would find basically if I saw a march outside and a murder, I know what I would find more disturbing. Especially if the police are handcuffing the person while they're dying. Satvir Kaur, the Labour MP from Southampton Test, said, at a time when a family and community are in mourning, we should be coming together, not stoking division and pitting communities against each other. Well, except this crime literally was based on division. It was based on division. Because the guy says he was being a racist, the police immediately arrested that guy. Right, that basically the entire thing was based on division. In fact, it's been based on these very, very divisive race laws that give people preferential treatment and actually create the two-tier justice system.
Yep.
Right, basically, here's the fun fact. We didn't start the division. We did not start the division.
Correct. Just like in America, like there was this whole agreement that we were going to be colorblind, and we kept up our side of the arrangement. The powers that be did not keep up theirs and decided that colorblindness is racism and everyone else needs to not be colorblind and identify as their race and also hate white people. It's an interesting situation.
Right? We were very, very happy about this shit at first, at least most of us fucking were. Now we've realised how fucking dumb it is. Right? Sadly too late for some of us, including fucking me. But anyway, this does not help to... Oh, wait. Donna Jones, the Police and Crime Commissioner for Hampshire and Isle of Wight, said she totally condemned the violence. This does not help to deliver change. It doesn't assist public sentiment in the cause of fairness for all, she says.
Fairness for all, too.
Are you aware of what the protests were over? The events that led up to the riots? Fairness. You want to talk about fucking fairness. It simply paints these protesters as criminals, which weakens their voice. Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood has also condemned the unacceptable violence against officers at the protest. I don't think I've heard a single English MP so far. Chairs, cans and flares were thrown at officers in riot gear.
I don't think they were, mate.
Forcing them to retreat. During the initial protest at the police station, political activist Tommy Robinson spoke to the crowd. Southampton City Council said there was no excuse for the kind of violence and disorder we saw last night. It said people commenting from outside the city should take care not to use language that could inflame tensions, and that its crews were currently clearing the damage caused by the disorder. Spencer Ragg...
Dude, like, they got off easy, man. I'm not justifying it, but okay, I'm kind of justifying it. Like we were talking about earlier, like you need to, guys, I thought riots were the voice of the unheard, right? Sometimes you got to riot a little bit to make your voice heard. That's what I was told back in the day when it was the leftists doing it. Yeah, riots are the voice of the unheard.
Of the Hampshire Police Federation said, this was not protest, this was violent and sustained order, and it has no place in the streets of this country. He added, mob justice has no place on our streets, the rule of law and...
Mob justice has no place on our streets. Then do your fucking job. That's how you stop mob justice, is by executing the law fairly and equally. Or people take things into their own hands. Arkham got censored again. Metcalf trials are happening now. Google Metcalf. Only Carmelo's name comes up. Damn.
Due process must be paramount. The perpetrators of such violence against our colleagues should and will face the full force of the law. We expect more arrests to follow.
Once again, they're threatening the protesters after they let the victim bleed out and arrested him and abused him. It's like, yeah.
Officers were subjected to disgraceful violence, pelted with bottles, bricks and wheelie bins.
I don't think they were, mate.
We continue to support all Hampshire police officers, including our colleagues injured last night, and we wish them a speedy recovery. To everybody that's getting arrested or is going to be arrested for taking part in these riots, it's fine. You just have to say that whatever police officer you were directing your violence towards was being racist towards you. And they'll arrest the police officer. It's fine. It's fine. Just say that the officer was being racist. It's fine. You'll all get away with it. It'll be totally fine. Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said there were serious questions for police following the release of the police body cam footage. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary confirmed that one of the officers involved in the case has resigned, while the other three
Oh, he resigned. Never mind. It's all good.
are still serving. All of them are being treated as witnesses. They're still serving. Have they not been put on desk duties? Have they not been put on a suspension pending an investigation because they kind of caused the death of a man?
And they're being treated as witnesses. Like, again, they should be under Well, I guess they are. Other three are still. All of them are being treated as witnesses. Yeah, I want them investigated.
Like, basically, they shouldn't be in the force at all. They're a risk to human life. These officers are a risk to human life. They shouldn't be in the force at all. And in fact, they should be facing criminal charges of at very least manslaughter.
I'm reading ahead, but I'll react to that when we get there.
Right, they're still on duty. I can't believe it.
I can.
The force said the officer who resigned did so at the end of 2025 and not as a result of this incident. So,
But end of 2025 is when that incident happened.
they didn't even do seppuku like honorably or anything. They actually resigned for a completely unrelated reason.
Allegedly.
They didn't think that this was going to come back to bite them in the fucking arse. Earlier on Tuesday, the force said an officer not connected to the case had faced death threats after being misidentified in online posts. Which is fair. Don't direct your anger at the person who didn't have anything to do with it, right? So definitely don't do that. In a post on X, the force said, "We recognise the desire for answers about the police response that night and warned people not to indulge in harmful online speculation."
Damn. Yes, no harmful online speculation. Dude, what a fucking joke. I will give the British people credit for they keep showing up to these protests and they seem pretty spicy protests. So that's something. So I'll be kind and not call the UK a total joke, but the UK government is a total joke. The UK legal system is a total joke. This is, yes, do not engage in harmful online speculation. Bro, you what? You can just do that. You can just engage in online speculation and fuck the government if they call it harmful.
Also, by the way, God bless the internet. God bless the internet, because see, in the days before the internet, we would have not known a single thing about this. We wouldn't have known a single thing about this. The police watchdog is expected to report on the case within the next 3 months. It said investigators are examining a large amount of body-worn video as well as material presented during Digwe's trial. Digwe stabbed Novak from Chafford 100 in Essex as he walked back to his student accommodation in December 2025. A statement issued,
Otherwise known as the end of the year 2025, when the guy resigned unrelatedly at the end of the year 2025. Yeah.
by Digwe's family, apologised for the pain and suffering the Novak family has had to endure, and for bringing the Sikh community into disrepute. Or is it the same Digwe's family who took the knife from him and took it back to the house and tried to hide it?
And conspired together with the brothers and stuff. Yeah, that family.
Those ones, the ones that basically lied alongside their son and tried to cover for him.
Yep.
Those ones.
Correct.
To be fair, I'm not blaming the mother. Again, I don't blame mothers for covering for their sons and everything, right? When you're a parent, you'll understand. Right, but basically, the police officers in this, now I'm not condoning the violence around it. You want to do protests and everything, absolutely. Protest up and down the country, right, in regards to this case. Protest up and down the country in regards to this case, non-violently. Non-violently, because the instant you get violent, that gives the police an excuse to go in and start arresting people and rounding people up and searching their phones and finding everything that they've been up to and all this other stuff, right? And then they use that to basically track down other people that you're connected to.
Man, I want to glow so hard, but I don't think I can or should. So we'll just say yes, he's correct. Don't be violent.
and they can take you out of the equation. Also, there's definitely MI5 agitators turning up to these that start the violence on purpose.
Of course.
The police then have an excuse to go in and break up the protest. Right, so do your best to protest non-violently, and see if you see anybody being violent immediately right away, or there's just a very convenient pallet of bricks just lying there. There's MI5 at the protest. MI5 is at the protest, and be very, very careful. The instant you see someone getting violent, grab them yourself and take them to the police.
You're probably better off not getting involved. Like that one's a little tricky. That one's a little tricky. Although I do like the idea of citizen arresting an MI5 agent. That's pretty fucking funny.
Basically, he's one of theirs, hand the fucker back. But basically, in regards to this case, the police officers who were involved should be going to prison. They should be going to prison. They caused the death of a man. Right, and basically see the entire, blinders on, an absolute Pavlovian response when the word racism is mentioned. That has to be completely stripped away for the police, because we do have two-tier policing. Right, we do have two-tier policing, and ethnic minorities now have privilege. They now have privilege, right? It was basically fucking Enoch Powell's Rivers of Blood speech. The black man will hold the whip hand over the white man. Right, that is
should we do Rivers of Blood?
to fruition. That's came to fruition right now, right? Basically, the two-tier justice
Kind of on point.
here. Right, minorities have privilege. Whenever
Can
there's
I find the
hate
full
crimes against
thing?
white people, they don't give a fuck. Right, they don't give the tiniest shit. However, they can literally walk up and stab someone and then just go, that guy was being racist, and the police just immediately side with the obvious and blatant attacker. Obvious and blatant attacker. The police just immediately sided with him without doing any investigation whatsoever. And they didn't even check to see if the guy had been stabbed. They didn't check until it was too late and he completely lost consciousness. Right, so basically the police need completely restructured.
Heard real territory, careful.
It's
on YouTube. It's on YouTube. Not that ever saves people.
Right, but it has to go, because as we've seen so many times, as I've witnessed personally myself, minorities are abusing it. They know that the police get the blinders on as soon as they hear racism. Right, so they start lying and making shit up to get their victim in trouble, or to try and justify their actions. When he called me a bad word, so that's why I had to steal his phone, yeah? Like, fuck off. Right, get all that shit the fuck out of policing, and the officers that were involved in this should all be going to fucking prison.
Damn. Can watch it on YouTube, can't stream it on YouTube. You might be correct. Maybe I do a React off stream and upload it or something like that, because it would be interesting content. But yeah, you guys might be right about it being a little too spicy. But yeah, it's been on YouTube for freaking. Oh, and I don't even think uploading will save you, because like Leaf got hit with the she didn't stream Erica and just use it as remix, and Erica is on YouTube, but I guess that's fine, but you can't remix it if you're someone that that people come after you and mass report you. But yeah, Rivers of Blood has been on YouTube for at least 12 years. I'm seeing result there. But yeah, might be too spicy, might be right, even though it's completely correct. All right. What's next? We could just keep up with the NOAC stuff. Yeah, and I think that's important to talk about, even though we've been talking about it. It could be fun to see other people's opinions as well. This one was interesting as well. I haven't seen their take on it, but this speech is very interesting. Pretty sure that's who I'm thinking of. Quartering and Decoy are covering what, the NOAC stuff? Oh, Leaf It video? Yeah. We can do that, especially since it's short. So yeah, this is Imposter Slime. Maria Grace impersonating Leaflet. Let's see what we got.
Cue the sound effects. It's me, Leaflet. I love farting. Wow. I hate Wingos. Wow. Cue the sound effects. It's It's me, Cleveland. I will fart.
Okay. Maria Grace, yeah. That's fun. Used to watch them all the time. All right. Let's close that down. But yeah, this one's pretty interesting. We could just see maybe their take on the riots there. Protests. Sure. Tim a bit. All right, let's keep going.
Let's talk about the protests down the road from me in Southampton last night. I was very tempted to go along, but I thought, well, better not. Better stay on the commenting side.
Facial recognition and everything being what it is.
Well, and
I was gonna say, yeah, like if you go down there as a known person, you're gonna be targeted.
And having a slightly recognisable face, that helps.
Provocateurs
and
showing up and throwing, like, I'm sure I
Yes.
saw people throwing Romans at the front of some of the crowds, which just seemed like needless
yes,
provocation.
Some of that was a bit silly, but we get into that. So, I mean, first of all, if you are a massive shitlib and you are for some reason watching this stream, you may be wondering why were the people in Southampton protesting, and I can answer that question with these are yesterday's newspapers. As you can see, no mention of two-tier policing, anti-white bias, Henry at all. Just nothing yesterday.
I will say it's very different today.
Funnily enough, yes. Let's have a look at today. There we go.
Oh.
Every paper.
And you notice that first one there. Families' plea for calm ignored. They're focusing on the protests and
there we go.
Putting it in a very bad light there.
Every paper.
Arrest that outraged nation. Cuff cop quits.
Is now covering the story. So if
some of these are
wondering,
neutral or better. Yeah, that first one was wild.
Is now covering the story. So if you wonder
what's that message is?
wondering
Never again.
why, there we go, the iconic photo of the boy being arrested moments before he dies. So if you're wondering why people were protesting, well, that's your answer. Because the British state would...
Yes, fury at White Lives Matter comment. If that was the one we saw earlier, I don't think it was exactly fury, but yes, the objection to White Lives Matter is really something to see after all the Black Lives Matter stuff. I mean, it's par for the course, but it's still very telling.
Love to have this covered up forever.
Yes.
If people didn't push back in any way. So yes, what's going on here? So this is an area I know quite well because look, basically the way Southampton works is you got the university up here, and then is a sort of short walk down to Portswood, and Portswood is basically the cheapest bit of Southampton, and so that's where all the students lived. So I actually lived where was it? About here. And the murder took place here, so it was just one street away. So I'm sort of rather familiar with this area. What I did do is I did watch most of the I watched pretty much all of the protest actually in real time. Let me just start this rolling because we're just going to talk. Oh dear. Do I max screen that, Samson? Does that come out clean? Good, that should be okay. So here we are down in Southampton town. This guy got here a bit early. There we go.
This should be interesting, though.
There's the police building. Now, people start to trickle in. So the police, they've got a handful of them up there. Few more turning up. They know there's going to be a protest at 6. They clearly didn't quite realise what they were in for. They thought it was probably going to be something like this for the rest of the evening. So there we are. A bit before 6. Crowd starts to grow a bit. a bit more.
Damn.
Quite a bit more.
Like I said, props to the British for showing up at least.
And then it just becomes throngs, and it keeps
Damn.
on, basically it keeps on growing. The police really had no idea what they're up for. They actually start off at the beginning. They're sort of holding their line at the bottom of the stairs, and as you can see, not very long in, they kind of push back to the stairs because of the sheer depth of bodies that have turned up for this thing. Thoughts on the protest before we dig into any of the interesting bits?
Well, I mean,
based.
This is to be expected. The only surprising thing is that it is taken. Obviously,
it is to be expected, but it's also to be expected that no one shows up and no one cares, or it's a small thing. So I mean, you can say both ways. Like it's not exactly to be expected because it's outside the norm. Like it should be expected, but
we have the occasional.
Yeah.
Southport was an example. There are times when the rage of the host population does reach boiling point, and it needs to find some way of expressing itself. But we can only expect to see more and more of this intensified further if our elite class continues to force a sort of demographic experiment on the host peoples of these islands, a sort of socio-biological wager on human nature. Sooner or later, people are going to respond in this fashion, and particularly when you throw in the kind of politicized two-tier nature of the case too, it is more or less everything that they told us George Floyd was times 100 as far as
with the advantage of actually being a real case.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
That's why I said what they told.
Yes.
What they told us.
Yes.
That was, and there's just.
Are they using Sargon's video? I don't think so. UK Sploosh is the video they're looking at here.
Published by Passage Press, which is called American Scapegoat, which digs into the George Floyd case. I haven't had a chance to read it yet in granular detail, but it's, this is a sort of slam dunk case of genuine prejudice influencing the behaviour of the police.
Yeah, there's no question to the actual cause of Henry Novak's death.
You see no purple hair. Yeah, it would be fun if there was more Amelia. That actually might be no.
Is there any sort of checkered past?
I was like, that might be purple hair. Nope. I think that's a hijab.
That we have to dig into.
Exactly.
He was just a good kid who was going to university.
I mean, to put it this way, he never held a loaded gun to a pregnant woman's stomach.
No, but crucially as well, even if people do think that Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd either through manslaughter or murder, no one actually ever, not even the prosecution in the George Floyd case, ever sought to establish any kind of racist motive. They never,
that's always something that's left out.
It's something that's always forgotten. Whereas in this case, because the police as an institution, all police forces as an institution, but it seems Hampshire Police as well, are so marinated in sort of anti-racist TM ideology, they see.
Surprised that purple hair didn't become a protest move. Yeah, I can see it both ways. Lotus Eaters is Carl Benjamin's channel. I know. I thought you meant the video on screen there, though. But yeah, this is the Lotus Eaters channel. Yeah.
Their own institution is already being compromised.
Oh, they brought up. So it's the other way around. Lotus Eaters are using the protest footage from a different channel here, if that's what you mean.
And checkered by McPherson and Stephen Lawrence and all the rest of it. So they, rather than being policing without fear or favor, they see it as their way to be sort of active in correcting for previous injustices. And Henry Novak has proved a victim of exactly that diversitarian drive.
Well, it's not just the police though as well. One of the
No, I haven't. I should watch the Lego stuff as well. I've heard people have been having a good time with that.
Other racial aspects of this, the ways in which this case was inherently racialized before it even reached the public, was the behavior of the Digwa family in the first place, who knew immediately that one, they would be sticking
all good, wet whiskers, no problem,
not just as a family but also racially, and two, that they could use the racist card.
All right, night close up.
Who knew immediately that one, they would be sticking together tribally, not just
we've talked about that,
family, but also racially, and two, that they could use the racist card to try and get away with it.
You could use the magic words.
Yeah, they could use the voodoo hex curse to get away with it. Now, Thankfully, this time, it's in the long run, it's failed.
Yes.
And the scumbag who stabbed Henry Novak to death has been put away for life. 21 years minimum, I think, is the
That's not life. I still don't understand that.
reporting that I've seen. But the fact
How do you call 21 years minimum life? So confusing.
that they
And
thought
bear in mind, with 21 years, he could get out when he's younger than I am now.
it's still a tragedy, yes, but still he's not been given a suspended sentence. There's
There is
no
that.
talk of removing certain sentencing or whatever. But it's also if you read a Millennial Woes Substack article on it, which is probably the most detailed breakdown that I've seen, the way it's described that in the time after he's been stabbed and the family shows up, that they go out of their way to hold him down, prevent him from seeking any help, make sure he doesn't have access to a phone. They don't phone an ambulance. They just immediately say, it doesn't matter if my son's telling the truth or not, we're going to stick by him no matter what, and think that they can get away with it. And that boy's last moments on earth were one being really abused by the police and the family, who were stood around talking in a foreign language, conspiring against him. That's a tragedy. That's horrifying. And people aren't very happy about that. The fact that they knew they could get away.
So to your point about the sort of the waters that the police are marinated in, so I know people on both sides of this. So I mean, obviously I know Loza and a whole bunch of people in these crowd, but I also, because my father was a police officer and I sort of grew up around people who then later went into the police. I know people in Hampshire police as well. None of the ones that I recognise from this video, but they tell me that they are told pretty much daily, don't be racist, that it is absolutely drumbeat into them all the time. It is by far and away their highest priority. Not murders, not rapes, not solving crime, not keeping people safe. Racism, drumbeat.
Which dude's hair? We're going to make fun of this dude's hair? Is that what we're talking about? Yeah. That's fair.
And the guys who've been in for a while tell me they've had that every day for 20 plus years, however long they've been in the police.
Oh, so these dudes, like all of them, you're saying?
Anyway, people start turning up and talking. We've got Loza there talking, a whole bunch of other people talk as well. I think Tommy comes in at, let me see, Tooth. So we've got a good almost an hour of talking. Tommy is the last speaker who comes up around about here. He gives a speech punchier than he normally gives, actually.
Yeah, that's a massive crowd.
Actually. And as you can see, the police are, they had no idea what they had no idea what they were walking into with this. They thought it was going to be a minor protest. Now, you're probably going to be hearing in the next few days about how everybody here is just a far-right thug and a racist.
Probably.
For most of this, for the first 5-6 hours of this video, the crowd could have rolled over the police at any time they wanted to. They easily had the numbers. They didn't do that.
And then, like Dankula was talking about, probably the MI5 agents showed up and in the crowd and instigated violence. Like, that's totally possible. Or people got rowdy. I mean, that's possible as well.
So anyway, Tommy stands up and he gives a speech in all of this, and he ends it with, "Okay, well, let's, we've said our bit. Let's walk away now. Let's walk down to Portswood because this is more the southern end of Southampton." Let me just turn the sound on for a bit. Maybe we catch the bit where
I can see John in that crowd as well.
John was there. Yeah, he was.
Tommy! Tommy!
Okay, I think that was just after the bit. He said, "Right, let's move on." Unfortunately, as the crowd was starting to dissipate, suddenly the police found their courage, and that was when they started trying to push people down the stairs. So as people are starting to leave, you see suddenly they're trying to shove people down the stairs now. They suddenly found their stones, and this was the time they were gonna because those are steps there. They decided they were going to start pushing people down the stairs, which is
try and push past them into the police station.
Doesn't look like it.
No, they're all leaving. This is just after they've said they're leaving, and the crowd is starting to move off. And as you can see, they're trying to get out. They're trying to leave.
This just sounds like the crowd bulged a little bit as everybody started to move away, and the police just went, right, that's our signal.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they could have just stepped back and let them go, but no. This happened numerous times with this. So anyway, then they got a bit of a walk. It is a bit of a walk to get down from southern, because Southampton is a slightly weirdly laid out city. They've got to then walk up to Portswood here. So it's a bit of a chat, a bit of a walk. So there's a bit of time that goes by.
Englishmen don't have pew-pews? Yes.
Until they eventually get down to where they get into Portswood, walk through that.
Like I said, as much as I like guns, it's both. It's more about attitude, though. Like, again, the same thing can happen here in America, and we have guns, and it doesn't always stop the thing from happening. Doesn't always mean the people are going to stand up against it. It's just important to keep that in mind as well, that again, we should have guns. The English should have guns. They shouldn't have let them get taken away. But the existence of guns is not a be-all, end-all solution, because people still let themselves get pushed around because it's easier.
And they arrive at...
Ahoy. Stay strapped, lads, yes.
The location of... Well, this isn't the...
Stay strapped and stay engaged in the system, too. Like, again, that's the other thing. We need to do more community organizing. God, I feel like I'm Fed posting, like, just given the context. But no, non-violently, of course, all that. But yeah, need to get more engaged in the system. Need to make our voices heard, again, peacefully. Yeah, like, again, stay strapped, but that alone is not enough too. We need to push back against the insanity we've been seeing.
This isn't where the murder happened. It's just down that road on the right-hand side. And the police form a line here. The reason the police form a line here, because one of those houses down there, I wouldn't normally say locations like this, but it's everywhere, so everybody already knows the locations of these things. Everybody in Southampton knows this already. Down there is the houses of the Digwas, where they were, and so the police formed the line here because, God forbid the Digwa family were to get a broken window or anything like that. so they turn out in force. By the way, this UK sploosh was great for this. There's a live stream on it covering the whole thing. And let me see.
And they're taking the knee.
Yeah, this was a constant theme in it. The crowd, when it was still thin like this, they kept on sort of saying, well, look, you took a knee for George Floyd, you're going to take a knee for Henry.
It's a clever move, that. And it's extraordinary the extent to which this has become salient. Just coming in here, coming into Swindon now, had a bit of train trouble. I was waiting outside train stations quite a lot. And the number of people, just ordinary people going about their day-to-day work, tradesmen types, who were talking about this. And not just talking about it as a disgrace unto itself, which it is, but exposing the contrast between how our sort of elite institutions and indeed our leaders reacted to basically a serial criminal in the form of George Floyd.
Yes. And who was a US citizen.
Who was a US citizen
yes.
in Minneapolis overdosing on fentanyl in all likelihood, as compared to this, which is a slam dunk case of police negligence combined with obviously murder, now convicted murder.
Yep. The UK police will kneel for an American criminal, but not a British man that they let die. Pretty insane.
This is a clever move on the part of the protesters.
Yeah, I mean, spoiler alert, obviously the police did not take a knee, because it would have been career suicide for any of them to take a knee.
And again, it is racially motivated murder. He thought he could get away with it because he thought he could kill a white guy and claim racism.
Yeah,
that's what it is. If it wasn't for the institute...
I do wonder, what happened there, if there was any sort of confrontation, why it, was it just a random attack? It's we've seen that before, but yeah, crazy situation. And obviously the police reaction to it has been crazy. The political reaction to it. Also, not advice learned cane fighting. Old Englishmen didn't walk with a cane for support. Yeah, that's fair.
Institutional setup of the police, the fact that these people know, or at least think for the most part, that they can get away with it, he maybe would have thought twice about doing it in the first place if we weren't living in the culture that we are today.
And this is other thing I will say. There are all of these sort of pious claims.
Are they being? Yeah. Oh my God! Look at this.
It's about
Dude, this is so bad optically. While the protesters are kneeling, look at what's going on here.
If we weren't living in the culture that we are today.
And this is other thing I will.
Other people are showing up and handing the cops riot
So
gear,
there are all these sort of pious,
truncheons,
claims being
helmets.
made. I think a Sikh MP within the House of Commons tried to make it the other day, attacking Rupert Lowe, attacking Farage.
Dude, that's brutal.
Attacking more or less everyone on the right of British politics for politicizing this issue. No, it was already political.
Yep.
We found it that way. We are not the ones politicizing. We found it political.
The Sikh MP that you're referring to, he put out a tweet this morning saying, "Look, they're coming for the Sikhs now. They'll be coming for you next." And I had to reply to it and said, "They've been coming for me for 20 years,
at least."
So, sorry if I'm not wildly sympathetic. Yeah, I mean, I'll just show here the sort of the site. I mean, sorry, this is the murder location.
The house where
so,
they're kneeling. We might have a chance.
Let me just
Quick,
frame this.
arm
So
us.
to the left is where the police line was a moment ago, and Henry had clearly run down this street and tried to go in here, tried to climb over that fence, being stabbed as he climbed over that fence.
In his legs.
In his legs, yep.
In his legs.
So he was halfway over that fence when he got stabbed.
Which was filmed.
Yep.
Yes.
While it was happening.
Ouch, man.
You don't have that footage.
Well, that was withheld from the trial because it was too disturbing.
Yep.
It's all a psyop. Always has been. It's all a psyop.
Yep.
And there was also footage filmed while he was
Premeditation.
laying dying that Digwa had filmed, presumably to taunt him.
Yes, exactly right. I mean, huge crowd at this point. I mean, it's that previous area we saw is completely full up, and this area is starting to fill up as well, and continuously you can see the police. More vans are arriving, so I reckon
Psy-pop. Oh, that's good.
Half of Hampshire Constabulary put their phones on airplane mode last night, so they wouldn't get called up to come down to this.
And clearly largely spontaneous as well. People may remember that after Southport there was a sort of state-led effort to present the protests that erupted afterwards as in fact artificial. It was sort of people who were already prejudiced going into these communities in order to cause trouble, and then a later report actually shot that down. It's curious that it's telling in a way that they haven't tried that to trot out that line again, but clearly this is just spontaneous outrage on the part of decent people living in that community who feel who feel this sort of harrowing event very, very acutely.
It is. Now, you'll notice that everything has been very calm so far, apart from the police trying to push those people down the stairs. Everything has been, perfectly reasonable at this point.
Yeah, yep. We got to invent those new genres. I like it.
I'll direct your attention to. So this is an adjacent road going down it. Yes, there was the murder house there, but nobody's touching it. It's just a memorial outside, some flowers and stuff. This is a kind of overflow road. The police, in their baffling series of unwise decisions, decided to dispatch a group of riot police to come down this road from the opposite side.
Damn straight. We're building.
There's no reason for them to do that. There is another road, a main road that goes behind those houses that joined up with the main police point, where they could have avoided all of this. But they decided they're going to come in and they're going to have a bit of a slap. They're going to knock some white lads around the house, give them a good shove.
Look, yeah, they're so tough.
At which point the crowd, gets a bit riled up with this. And they start throwing wheelie bins. Now, if you're leftist concerned about what you're seeing here, don't worry. Those are actually ceremonial wheelie bins. And the British people are allowed to carry a wheelie bin of up to 120 litres on their person at all times for ceremonial reasons. So there we go. And we then get this sort of slightly comical scene of the riot police who came in to have a bit of a slap. Basically, again, not realising what they were walking into and getting literally run off. And we've now got like a several minute scene of them realising, oh shit, we're not going to get away with pushing people around here, and so they hastily retreat back to the main police line.
I mean, they're retreating here for obvious pragmatic reasons because they were clearly expecting some kind of trouble. They're kind of they're in full riot gear. It's telling when you compare that to what happened in Hare Hills about 2 years ago when the police fled, and again for pragmatic reasons because they were outnumbered and fair enough, but they didn't even bother showing up in riot gear on.
This is very notable.
Hare Hills.
Well, and also, of course,
if I'm not mistaken, my memory may be failing me.
The youth takeovers of just a few weeks ago in Croydon or whatever it was.
Indeed, yes.
No riot gear there. No riot gear for BLM.
The youth takeovers.
But they turn up in riot gear, and they don't take the knee, and they go in with the pushing and shoving. So they basically start with a crowd which is pretty passive, and they G them up with a bit of the violence.
Certainly how it
to
looks.
Get a reaction, and then they get shown off. But because this was I watched the whole thing, hours of this, and constantly every time the crowd settles down, they do something to rile them back up again.
That's some bullshit.
Do you know one of the rather depressing signals that makes it
Ceremonial wheelie bins, yeah.
A bit more
See ya, Arkham.
obvious that this is more organic? A lack of foreign flags held by all of the protesters.
Yes. There were some British flags. So there we go. We're going to be coming up on the murder house in a minute, and then they're gonna rejoin the main police line. But having started something, they're now getting pelted with things, and the locals are coming out to give them a piece of their mind as well. I mean, later on, you see the locals coming out in their dressing gowns to have a look at what's going on. So there's all of that. So like I say, it is a ceremonial wheelie bin. So don't when the police and the government start telling you that this is some sort of tactical weapon, just ignore that. That is not actually the case. Again, to my point about every time things started to settle down a bit, the police would go in. I think this
ceremonial SAS, heck yeah.
Yeah. See, it's basically settled down, so in they go. Rile the crowd up a bit. Lots of this.
Honestly, what? Maybe I'm missing something, but what possible law and order purpose does that sort of 10-yard march, like aggressive 10-yard march forward, serve?
Jeez.
Well, it triggers a reaction.
What is their sort of disinterested defense of that little charge they just did there?
Well, you can't push a narrative of far right lunatics unless you and the thing is, and it did get a reaction, and people would then start throwing things. Yes. So it got into exactly the narrative they wanted, because you start doing stuff like this, and then you start getting. I mean, at one point, a plant pot from presumably a nearby house comes flying over, but then of course you get the narrative. Well, 11 police officers were injured. It's like, well, yeah.
Well, I remember the BBC reporting that 27 police officers were injured during the BLM riots in the summer of 2020, but in the headline they made sure to say 27 police officers injured in largely peaceful protests.
I don't think that qualification is going to be added here. And the bizarre thing is, it would have been peaceful, I think, if there wasn't a lot of the agitation that came with it.
I don't want to sound like too much of a schoolmarm, but we should say that Lord Hermer is rubbing his hands together right now at people. It's rare that I quote Lenin approvingly, but he did once say that in any field of human endeavor you should have your heart on fire but your brain on ice. It's very important for people to remain level-headed during these. I do understand. I don't want to sound like too much of a schoolmarm, because clearly it is the conditions that the police and our politicians are creating that are the problem. Yep. Rather, these are at best are sort of second, third order symptoms. But it is in your own interest and in the interest of us as a people to be as level-headed in these situations as possible, or you're just giving ammunition to people like Lord Hermer, who is gleefully signing off your public order prosecutions as we speak, I'm sure.
Yes, and of course they got the facial recognition out, but they don't even need the facial recognition out, because so many people were filming this live, and people didn't cover their face, because as far as these people are concerned, they got nothing to be ashamed of. They're defending their country, so they get the opportunity to now go round and arrest loads of people and fast track them through the courts and all that kind of stuff. I mean, the amount of money they spent on this, I mean, never would they ever spend defending the Digwas home. You can see the amount of money, and they've got the police helicopter running above this as well. They would never spend that amount of money on defending a victim of the grooming gangs.
Was there any indication that these protesters intended on being vigilantes outside of the murderer's home anyway? I mean,
they walked down to Portsmouth, and the police had clearly decided in advance that they were going to clear out this road, and none of those lights in those houses come on, so they'd probably cleared out the road and put everybody in hotels or whatever it was.
I mean, I understand you've got 6 hours worth of footage here, so maybe this what I'm about to say could be disproven, but so far I've seen nothing of the protesters trying to breach the police lines.
So, there is.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like earlier, before they had the riot gear, no one was fucking with them or anything like that.
But when it started, it was, a lot of people taking the knee and that kind of stuff. Yeah. Police would get a bit belligerent, and then what started happening is people started throwing stuff.
Right. Also, I've got to say as well, this all seems like a rather extravagant defence to ensure that there isn't too much uproar after a delivery driver murders someone. Is it really worth it having the extra delivery drivers in the country with all this extra expense and trouble that comes with it?
Yeah, as opposed to walking to the takeaway yourself or something.
Or driving. We've got roads for it. It's quite incredible.
Anyway, escalation keeps happening, and it has the desired effect.
They were throwing stuff at some point.
In the crowd who were prepared to be a bit unwise, and look, I'm not condoning it. Like I said, I've got friends in the police. I'm not up for throwing things at the police, but that is the reaction that then started to happen. And as it started to get dark,
if the town on fire is mostly peaceful, does that make this an extremely violent protest? Yeah, that's what. Well, and see, this is a far right registered trademark protest. The other one, the peaceful protests, were leftist. So yes, for multiple reasons, this is a extremely violent protest.
You then did get, the unfortunate element of people. That's a much bigger bin. That is not a. That
is a high capacity assault bin right there.
And it's too large, that one. That's technically illegal. And then more plant pots and bottles and all the rest of it, and the odd half house brick started coming over as well. The police advanced, were higher up on this road, and then they sort of retreated to this as the crowd was simply too large. But they are not going to go any further back than that, because just behind that is Digwe's house.
Far right, yes, white and British, far white, yeah, and
house. And they're going to defend that at all costs. Everybody else's house around here, was getting their plant pots and their fence panels broken. But, by God, they're not going to let a single thing happen to the Digwe's house.
Well, one of the problems with a situation like this is, especially when it starts to go dark, and there've already been a few altercations. We saw people hanging around by the fences, sticking their heads over and throwing stuff at the cops. If a bunch of just delinquents with nothing to do with the protest in the first place see that there's a bit of a scuffle going on with the police and want to join in the fun, they're just gonna jump in and get mixed in with the rest of the crowd anyway. And if they start to escalate things, the rest of the crowd and the rest of the protests is going to get blamed for it.
And I'm sure there will be a few conspiracy theorists in the comments saying, "What about undercover police doing a bit of that as well?"
I mean, I'm certain there must have been some in the crowd.
Who knows?
What would the reason be to not?
Certainly not beneath the British state at this point, given the evidence, given what we have on record that the British state has done.
Ceremonial wheelie bin going in. So this holds. They've been pushed right back.
Dude, the ceremonial wheelie bin is just such a hilarious phrase.
To near where Digwe's house is, defending that at all costs. As you can see now, loads of things have been thrown at this point. I mean, it has got very unfortunate here. Like I say, protests need to happen, because otherwise the British state will just simply continue with the destruction of the English people forever. So you do need to raise something, but it is unfortunate that it's come to this point. And it's unfortunate the series of actions that the Hampshire police took to agitate things a number of times.
Yep. Sometimes you feel like glowing and being like, hey, maybe this should happen. But yeah, probably best to keep things peaceful. I get the anger. I feel the anger, but probably best to save that for other things. If that comes to be needed, keep your powder dry, basically. This is and especially due to the provocation of the police, this is not productive to give them what they want.
Times. And then eventually they got their public order charging. They read the Riot Act. And that's when they've got full powers to do stuff. So it sort of eventually sort of accumulates here. I think this is them shouting out. If this is, I think I got the right bit. Is this 6? No,
it's all about the consequences. Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. Is sometimes the consequences can be effective, but it has to be applied correctly. And if it's just a riot, it's probably not going to happen. And that's why the police want those to turn into riots. It lets them easier to paint them in a bad light and easier to shut them down.
Could not possibly be more predictable, though. I mean, people instinctively do not like being replaced, and still less do they like being treated effectively, which they are treated by our institutions as second-class citizens relative to those replacements.
You asked Jake if he could pull Asman. Keen, you think you could pull Leaf or Powder for what?
Like, one is bad enough, both together.
And people have tried voting against this for 50 years and been rug pulled every single time.
That's right.
So, you can say to people, oh, why are you kicking up any fuss about this stuff? It's like, well, we tried to tell you through the ballot box for 50 years.
Yeah.
And you did nothing. Yeah, so this is the point where whatever it is, the Public Order Act or the Riot Act.
Oh shit! Yep, there they come.
And they've now got full powers to basically beat anyone that they can get their hands on and throw them in the back of the van. So this is when they become much more.
Aren't consequences negative by definition? No, I don't think so. It just does kind of mean results. Talk about ideas.
This is what the police like to do. They wait until it's thinned out and a lot of the crowd are gone at this point. They're going to charge. Now, what they normally do is they will box you in from 4 sides, then they read the Public Order Act,
right,
and then their advance. So basically they will say, if you don't clear out of this area now, you're going to be arrested, but make sure they've already kettled you so that then when they advance, they can then just beat and arrest every single person they get their hands on. That because they didn't understand what they were up against with this protest, they weren't able to kettle these people. The crowd was simply too large, and so they just managed to advance, but they couldn't kettle people, and they probably didn't arrest many people. But no doubt they're going to be going through. Many intelligence officers at the police are now going to be spending their time analysing this frame by frame and the various other videos, and they will be arresting as many people as they can, because the British state's response to Hampshire police cocking up an arrest will be to arrest as many people with Hampshire police as they possibly can.
Yeah, alrighty. I'm getting tired. We'll probably call it there. Let's. As you can tell, I'm getting tired. Who do we have on? There's Leaf, of course. What's she up to? And then I also see Cinny here.
Well, that character was actually a different character in the story, right? The correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't actually beat.
And Cinny, what are you up to?
It's just the Man of War that ruined shit. Oh, okay.
Are they talking the same thing?
The Man of War, if I'm honest with you. Hold on. I might just watch this. I'm with Cinny, no socks unless it's cold as fuck in the house. Yeah, Healing gets it.
Yeah, just for variety. I don't know. She's probably about to jump into a react, it looks like, but let's go ahead and let's go ahead raid Cinny here.
It looks like Resident Evil 7.
Alrighty. Like I said, thank you for watching, everybody. Hey, have a good one.
You're gonna call it a night.
Peace.
Good night, my lovely Cinevere. Night, John. Have a good night, Stacy Gardner.
I hope she's not taking off, but it doesn't sound like she is.
Sweet dreams. Take care.
Anyway, peace. I'm not sure. I'll probably be back tomorrow. We'll see. Thanks for watching. Peace. And yeah,
She could read a fucking
what was I gonna do? I was gonna say
manual in that voice and make $1 million. You think so? I'll try it out.
whatever.
I'll try it out.
Heave
Peace.
away, me hearties, heave and never bend. For the right road's bloody narrow, and it never seems to end. Through storm and steel and centuries, he carried a righteous flame. Black-hearted Jack the Deathless, but the heart still feels the pain. He sailed when Rome still ruled the waves and Carthage burned to ash. Cut down tyrants by the score, left empires in the crash. No blade could keep him under, no grave could hold him long. He rose with every sunrise, still singing the same old song. Heave away, me hearties, heave and never bend. For the right road's bloody narrow, and it never seems to end. Through storm and steel and centuries, he carried a righteous flame. Black-hearted Jack the Deathless, but the heart still feels the pain. 1,000 widows blessed his name, 1,000